Spicy.
Him this split is just he's such a fucking hypocrite.
Ooh.
Holy shit! Like every time I've smacked him about in a scrim, smacked him about in a game, official game, whatever, he's gone, why is Ice allowed to play in Div 4? Where? I'm like, okay.
Hey guys, and welcome to the first iteration of Joycey's jibber-jabber. We're going to kind of fill in the void of Let It Rip just while Trigger's taking a little bit of a break. Today I'm joined by my esteemed guest of VL, Mr. Ice Zarro himself. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Very last minute, but it's
always
a good excuse to drink.
True. In much in the fashion of Trigger's podcast, we're going to continue with the drinking theme. Today I've got some lovely Captain's Morgan Spice with some Pepsi Max Cherry Ice. What are you drinking?
I'm going to get flamed for this, but I thought I'd give it a try. We're drinking some Desperados out of a can. Yeah.
It's definitely controversial, I'll be honest with you. Many people are going to say that you've paid to be on the podcast, but we'll see when Ruben's on next week if that's the case or not, I guess.
Yeah.
A little bit of twist from Let It Rip, guys, is we're going to have some music bouncing between myself and my guest. So Ice's choice of genre this week is grime, so I'm going to hit play. It'll be his song first. Let me just put the sound down a little bit so you can hear in the background. And you'll hear some of my songs go through. Mine's a bit more varied. But I think it's a nice little spin that the guest brings some music so we can chat along. So Ice, first thing I want to ask on the podcast then is give us a little bit of an introduction into the history of you becoming a player. So taking it way back in the early days, I guess it was CL, right?
Yeah. So I originally joined Compete League, which for people who don't know is the league that sort of existed before VL. Joined on a team that at that point was, oh my god, this is 3 years ago at this point, and I can barely remember what I was doing yesterday. So give me a second. Yeah, I think the team. Yeah, the team was called. At that point was called Galliants.
Oh, see, I always pronounced it Galliants. I think a lot of people did. Was it Galliants or Galliants?
I called it Galliants, but
I remember the.
I don't know. Yeah, and on that team, so from the only person who's really still around in that from that team on the original team was Hashi. So I don't know how I keep ending up on a team with him. It's like I want to torture myself. Yeah. But yeah, so we had Hashi support. We had some, I don't know, like hardstock bronze 2 Norwegian dude who literally just spent the whole time flaming Hashi. So no different than what I do now.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard thing.
Yeah. And then actually for like 2 weeks, we had Motor Joe mid lane until literally 2 days before sign up closed. He snakes us for a group of friends. Still haven't forgiven him for that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then we had people who've been around, someone called Viaza, who was around sort of the early days of VL Rivals, CL. Very interesting person. Let's go with that. But yeah, so played on that team for a while. We played in VL or Val, who is the original creators of VL's first like off-split tournament. But what actually happened in between is no wait. I played a full split on that team.
Yeah.
We came second, I believe, because what happened is halfway through the split we brought in T-Doggy, or Craft as he's now known, and some person called, I can't remember what he was called, but basically he used to play on a team with T-Doggy on one of Rocksoul's teams, BDI.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened is we got to the final and we were like winning pretty easily, and then what happened is it turned out that person we'd brought in had actually been banned the previous split for like having a Smurf on his team.
Okay.
But just hadn't told any of us, so we got to the final there and then got yeeted.
Classic CL.
Yeah. And then after that,
I was just going to ask. So you mentioned about the Motor Joe snaking. I vaguely remember. And I think this was just about where we're at the point where you originally were, or you joined PwC for a little while, and then was this after?
No, that was between us getting second in that split and the start of next split.
Right. Okay. Let's get my time.
Yeah. So there was a bit of time where I was like, okay, do I continue Galleons with? We brought in Rani support at that point with Rani and Diaza, and I was like, didn't really want to because I was still. No, I'm a very competitive person, and I didn't feel like at that time people really were taking it very seriously. So then I joined, tried out for PwC, did well, got on the team. We played an off-season tournament where we got to the final, but then in between the semi-finals and the finals, in classic CL Ice fashion, I left PwC because I saw the team that was now on Galleons, and it was like Drigger and T-Dog ADC, I think, and just a really good team for that time. I was like, yeah, fuck it, let me leave, jump ship here. Because don't give a shit about PwC.
We never really played together, did we? Because I think I was in CL before most, like, a lot of people. I know what you was already in at the time, but in terms of like the OG people class like Drigger, Valk, and whatnot, I kind of brought them into it. But
no, I joined the split before most of those people.
Yeah, I think you was like a couple months before me.
Yeah,
I was just knocking.
But you were gold 4 at the time, right? So you were more of like a.
No, I was definitely silver.
Oh, okay. I know, yeah, but you didn't play because.
Basically, I just kind of mental
at that point as well.
Yeah. So what happened? Just to give some context is. I was kind of playing. We was going to do some like LAN stuff, which we did. We did pretty well at it, and then I don't know. I'd go through this with teams where I just feel like I don't have the time to put in, and I'm quite a competitive person. So when I want to play, I want to be able to practice like every single day, and I felt like it was too much. So I told the team get someone. Joe came in, and then you came in as jungler, I believe.
Yeah.
And then obviously you leaving started the historic rivalry, I think, is the best way to put it, with you and Valk.
Yeah, definitely. Started at the time. He was not happy at all. I don't think anyone at PwC was. Let's be honest, like, that's such a dick move on my behalf. Like, I quit 4 days before a final of a tournament to join the other team.
Who's in the final, yeah.
Yeah.
And
and then proceed to obviously win, because, yeah.
I think we'll come back more with the Valk drama and rivalry, I guess, a little bit later on, but I just wanted to prelude that. So from that, obviously, we go in towards you playing the final. You got into the next split of CL, and from my point of view, that was like a really good, I don't know, a good split. If you look back on it, it was like a really competitive one. There's lots of things going on, and CL back then, the bronze silver, seemed to have a tag of not really doing too well. So what was your take on it? That split in particular for CL?
That was a shit. Like, I mean, in terms of CL, yes, it was good because there was actually a lot of competitive teams. In terms of the standard that most people are used to in BL, terrible.
Oh, it's so far. I mean, you look, and no offense to him, but people like Glenn were rated as like the top 2 or 3 AD carries, and
I'm not even talking about that. Like, whatever, people improving, whatever. He probably was a good ADC at the time, but every team in that split at some point had a Smurf, except for
Checkmate and Revival.
No, Revival had a Smurf. They had Quee play for a week. Checkmate, Yellow,
and Starwish, right?
Yeah, they had one Smurf, and then Checkmate White had the owner like Danny or something, who had like mid gold account as well.
Yeah.
But like no one just bothered to report those teams because they were like near the bottom anyway, so no one cared. And then obviously my team had like 700 Smurfs or whatever. I was me and Ronnie were the only non-Smurfs on that team.
Was that Chicks with Sticks? I believe that's what you got.
Yeah. So top lane it was Quee.
Or Gilguff, I believe he was called at the time.
Gilguff, yeah. Which led to the hilarious point where Quee votes in the top lane rankings and puts himself top. And then jungle, it was meant to be Hyper, but he had some RL things, slash got into a team in the Gold Plat League, so wanted to focus on that instead. So then they brought in me, which led to the famous ranking of me being higher than Hyper, which everyone knows is correct anyway.
I agree. Hard stuck search diamond player.
Yeah,
exactly. We all know the truth.
And then mid lane was Val, the original
Pegasus, right?
Val, yeah, Pegasus, his brother. ADC, we had some person called Cloud who, like, we didn't have concrete proof that he was a Smurf. Not as far as I'm aware, but like, he was a Smurf.
Yeah. And then Rani in support, right?
Yeah. But like, so the whole reason we had that many Smurfs, at least from my point of view, is we looked at a team called Chaz It Up that joined, and everyone just knew their top and jungle was a Smurf. Like, there were level 30 accounts that had come from Dota.
Classic.
Yeah, and
I hear that bi-weekly, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, CL admins were like, yep, nothing to see here, let's go. So I'm just sitting there with Rani, and we're like, okay, so we had actually built a non-Smurf team. Where it was like some of Rani's friends, or I can't remember. And we're just like, well, what's the point if admins aren't going to take it seriously for us? Why don't we build a team with people we like playing with that are like 1 or 2 ranks above, and then do well?
Yeah, I get your point. Like, what makes you laugh even more, if people remember, I don't know if they can, but people in CL hopefully can remember, that at a time, so I think their jungler was Amy, top lane was Levi/Banana, people might know as. And Amy in the chat admitted to being a Smurf and like memed it, and he got reported, and the CL admin's just like, nope, completely legit, we watched them play, they're no higher than a silver 3 level. It's like, okay, cool. And I believe on that lineup was Big Sexy, and which a lot of people should know in VL, I think. And less known now, but back then was hugely known, was Spiteful, or Helen.
Yeah.
So,
and then Pabaxi mid lane, right?
Pabaxi, who obviously not a lot of people know anymore, but who's like the Morgana mid player, for those that can remember. But out of Chaz It Up, I guess the one thing that came out of it is that we got Mike and Helen into the community, which is really nice. They're really nice people. Pabaxi is ashamed, couldn't really stick around, but I think he had a lot of IRL stuff on and felt like he wasn't good enough at the time.
I mean, he's also quite old, right? So
yeah, he's like
he
in his 30s, I think.
He's older than, he's the same age as Bachelor, so I think he works quite a lot. Doesn't really have the time, which is a shame, but
you know, so at the end of that split, like I was saying, it was good because it was like the first time I'd seen an amateur league have the content it had, and obviously a lot came from the gold plat, I think, where Drigger started doing his thing, and we had the power rankings, which caused a lot of drama and debate, but ultimately the competition grew out of it, I think.
Like, and without that, BL wouldn't be a thing. So
yeah, I think so.
At the end of the day, the best, right?
Yeah, and then we had PWC, which came in as an org, which back then was like a meme thing. Oh my god, we got an org. And I think where Chicks with Sticks got their name from, was Pandas with Chairs, and Rani was like a big memer. Made the website to mimic the website, did the merch. And back then it was like a new thing, got memed. But ultimately, I think PWC and Goliaths, which went into Chicks with Sticks, I think they're the ones that kind of did the scrim meta, where, like, I remember PWC setting up a scrim, like, Discord, and people were joining it, and then people were like, well, we should do that. We should scrim. And I think that was like the early iterations of like what VL now is. Would you say? But
yeah, definitely.
That end of that split came to like a crash because, as you say, every team had Smurfs, knowingly or unknowingly, but they had them, and everyone was out to get everyone. Nobody was friends across teams. It's not like these days in VL where you've been on that many teams, you know a lot of people. Back then it was like you hate every team.
Yeah,
so
like no friendships. The only friendship you had is when people were Smurfs were jumping ship to go and Smurf on another team. Yeah.
So, what was your view? Because, like, I only really saw it from the perspective of PWC, where we didn't know we had a Smurf, but we did.
I still don't understand how you didn't know, because holy shit, he did not. Drigger did not hide it. When he first joined VL, he joined his account at his Discord account at that point was called
Stress.
X Hunter.
Oh, excellent, yeah.
X Hunter. He puts his op.gg in as X Stress. Then 3 days later, after I call him out on this, he changes it over, and then like 2 days afterwards, in PMs admits it. But like it was one of those where if that had happened in VL now,
yeah,
he would have lasted 1 day.
Not even that, yeah. But it was one of those back then. Like a lot of people had just started using Discord, and people didn't do those checks, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't really look at message history. If somebody wants to try out, you give them a tryout, and that was that. But no, like from our point of view, we didn't know. Obviously, I know people know that now, and people have seen the Drigger thing that came out at the time. But from our point of view, we were like, we're being hard done by here. We're getting like penalised for something that we haven't done. And at the time, it was like, who is it? What have we done? So we like emailed in, and I remember at the time we got ours.
They were so bad at replying to emails.
Oh, they were ridiculous.
Holy crap! I'm still waiting for like my reply to being unbanned. I got added in the Discord that I was unbanned before I get a personal reply.
Ridiculous. Especially when you have that system set up. But we got the email back. We were like, well, I don't think we got an email. We just got an announcement in the thing where it was like, PwC are unbanned but can't compete in. Oh, we could compete in playoffs, and then they reverted it and said, now you can't. And so we felt really hard done by until it all came out. But what was your point of view? Because I presume you guys knew that you had the Smurfs.
I mean, Rani, Val, and Hyper all RL friends. Yeah. Like, of course we knew. Like, people, like, I don't know how the admins bought that. None of Val's IRL friends knew that he was smurfing on the team with them. But, yeah.
So, did you guys just kind of accept it? Like, oh, we've been caught? Or
yeah, I mean, what happened, right, is... So, the thing that happened, like, is Val got paranoid about halfway through because, I don't know, something with Drigger and Amy and Val where they're like, oh, I don't know what happened. But, like, and then so he quit himself, and then we reformed the team. From Chicks with Sticks, and then we named it Eagles and Tetris, which was another meme on a unknown player coming in. We were doing a scrim, and we were like smacking them about, and they were getting super salty at Rani for some reason. And then when they found out she was a girl, their like first message they wrote is, "What the fuck? Why is a girl playing League? Go play Tetris." And yeah.
So yeah. CL blew up, and from that, that's where VL was born. For those that don't really know the history of it, VL came from a lot of teams having those Smurfs, but they were essentially Gold 4, and it was a Silver Bronze league. And so Val and a few other people at the time were like, well, why don't we just make a league where Gold 4s can play? And then it was like, well, we don't want a Gold 4 team smacking everyone about, so we'll just limit. And I think, was it 1 Gold 4 at the time? So every team can have 1?
No, it was...
Or was it 2? Because I know we changed it eventually. But I don't know if it was
I think it was 2 in the first split. I'm just trying to think. So the winning team would have been...
What, in VL? 70S, right?
Yeah, it was 70S. So that would have been...
But they didn't count
it would have
flex.
been 2. No, but it would have been 2 because the only reason they could bring in Kui was because Kraft went on holiday.
Right, okay.
And they already had... Laudio at that point.
Was Laudio
I'm pretty sure he was.
Okay, either way, they had 1 or 2 goals, right? But it was like very much a Gold 4 thing, and people that eventually joined and had the historic 2 plats or 2 golds that we had, that's where it came from. It came from the idea of that. But what was interesting is when VL first was born, you decided not to really be a player, right? I presume, from what I remember, you went straight into admin.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of... Even before it all started, I was Val's main sort of sounding board. I helped him with a lot of getting the rule set up. Stuff like that. Did a lot of early adminning. And yeah, at the time I don't know, I didn't really fully feel like playing because, I don't know, it was kind of... Didn't really like the environment at the time because all I knew was CL's environment, which was really toxic, and... I wasn't impressed with the standard of adminning, and I felt like I could do better myself. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, again, from my point of view, I didn't play in that last split. I played like one game, I think. Got MVP, based against Darwish, that doesn't count. But I was more like a manager kind of thing. I guess what we have now, like team managers, team owners, that's kind of where I was. And so I was just seeing it from the outside, not playing. And I think I kind of felt the same a little bit after it. There's a lot of things on record about it, but there was some internal drama with PwC, and eventually it just kind of blew up. But from that's where I then applied for admin, I think. And I was one of the early admins too.
Yeah, it was you and Glenn, right? So you both came in the day I left.
Yes.
Because I remember, I quite vividly remember, is I leave, about 4 hours later, I get a DM from Glenn, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? When he had it, because that early admin team was... so it was me, Val, Banana, and Rock, or Rewind, as he was known at the time. Rewind didn't really do anything, despite what you might say. He didn't. He was meant to be content manager.
Nothing
and
changed.
he did it about
Nothing definitely changed.
No. But yeah. I don't know, Val was very good at getting it set up at first, but then I think he ran into some RL problems.
Yeah.
And all I remember is day one, first ever game set. I haven't heard anything from Val for a day. He's been AFK. I get a message from him going, I can't be here. You have to run it.
That's when we had game day assistants as well.
Yeah.
They were an interesting concept.
And I'm sat there like, okay, so you want me to run this on my own, but I can't make any decisions on my own. And we know for a fact there's a Smurf, but because you're not here, I can't ban him.
That was the guy who was like Plat 3 on EUNE, right? Was he a jungler? A Spider? I think it was something Spider.
No. Spider was someone we'd already, we ended up banning, but wasn't aware of at the time. It was Asco's, on Asco's original team. He had a mid laner. Who was actually like a mid-plat Draven one trick.
I didn't Val just say you could just play or whatever?
Yeah, Val wasn't really listening, and then it took me I spam pinged him, and he comes on for 30 minutes and goes, okay, ban him, and doesn't say anything, doesn't facilitate anything about letting them find a new player, let them reschedule, anything like that. They bring in a new account for mid lane, who, bear in mind, is level 40 at the time, has no mid lane games, proceeds to insta-lock their previous Smurfs.
Was this the Twisted Fate?
OTP mid. Yeah, it was the Twisted Fate against PwC.
Yeah, it's against PwC. Yeah, I remember it.
And I just see him insta-lock, and immediately I just see Joe, Val, Glenn, I think at the time, just hard typing in general chat, and I'm just there oh, why?
Yeah, I remember that. Because we played that team in a scrim the night before, and I had to fill it.
Yeah.
And I remember playing against the TF and being like, right, I'm not saying I'm a great player, but I can lane versus gold 4s and silver 1s. I think I was silver 1 at the time. I was like, I can definitely go toe to toe with them. This guy's fucking not missing CS here. Guys, he's 8 CS per minute, and at the time it was 5 CS. That's what everyone was aiming at. He's 10-0 at 10 minutes. It's guys, what is this guy?
Yeah.
And then that's I remember that, and I remember him locking the TF again, and it was just all being chaos. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. And at that point, I basically went, fuck it. If Val doesn't want to take this seriously, and he doesn't want to give me proper ability to do anything.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, at that time, I was I was handwriting out stats.
Mm-hmm.
I was going onto the match history, writing them all out, getting them onto, and I think I did it for 2 weeks, and I spent them 8 hours on it every week. And when you're sitting there doing that, and you're not getting any backup from your owner, nothing, you don't want to be there anymore.
I could fully agree, and I remember, because our early relationship was pretty frosty, because obviously the rivalry.
Yeah.
And then when we swapped places in admin team, I kept DMing you, asking you questions, and I feel like you probably felt I was just incompetent, and I was this dude's just not helping. As you say, we fucking inherited a mess, and
yeah.
And like Val came out and said it himself. He couldn't have the time to put to it, so I'm not trying to blame him. Ultimately, he created a platform that we could then use to play, which CL wasn't going to do. So it's going to not have a league that next split. And so big props to doing it, but it's a big task to run. And like even today, it's a huge thing to do. And I was an icon manager because I have like 15, 20 people that I rely on for their various things.
And even then, I spend half my time DMing you instead of fucking
exactly
tickets, so which is not great on my behalf, to be honest. But yeah.
But, like, he's one of those things where I was just constantly asking you things. And I remember this must have been the spider guy. Is someone who's a jungler, and he was like,
yeah, no, that was the spider guy.
And you were DMing me like, how is this guy not banned? I was like, what do you mean?
I sent that stuff to Val like before I quit.
Yeah, and I was like, what do you mean? And you sent it all me, and I was like, all right, I'll pass it on. And I remember passing it on, Val being like, I spoke to Ice about this, it's fine. And like 6 hours later, between me and you speaking, I was like, wait, Val, this guy has an EUNE account. He's plat. Like, we know it. Why is he playing? It's like, fine, just ban him. And then we had to ban him like an hour before the games. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah, Val stepped down. He brought Impress in to steady that sinking ship. And I will admit, like, he did a good job in doing that. He
definitely
turned it around massively, and with help with others, and I think people will want recognition. But ultimately, without him at the head, and if it was still Val, I don't think it'd have been anything that it was eventually.
I mean, Impress was the reason I went back to the admin team for a while. Until I got drunk at like a family do over Christmas. I was like, fuck it, I'm joining a team with Quee, let's go.
Well, that was the thing, because at the time, you, Quee, Dewey, me, Glenn, I feel like I'm missing someone else, but we were all admins. Oh, it was a remix. All admins, right?
Yeah.
And like, the stuff with the Axis thing came up, and I remember different opinions, and I remember Quee mental booming the admin team. Not entirely sure why, but I think it's something to do with Dewey. And then Drew obviously leaving to go and coach or whatever he was doing at the time.
He wanted to play after he conveniently allowed him change the rules, force the rule set through so he could play himself.
Well, he's also involved in the... because Endeavour got banned, for the people that don't know. There was clips sent in. I wasn't admin then, but there was a clip sent in about him inting so he could get, like, what was it, like, goal 4 or whatever? So he could play. And he got banned.
I mean, yeah. He admitted to doing it later, but like people still think we brought in a specific rule. I think it was like the flex rule counting.
The plat flex, yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it's that kind of flex.
That we specifically brought that in for Endeavour, but it wasn't.
It's for Quee as well, right?
I think Quee was one of them, but like, it just didn't. It'd been something I'd been arguing with Impress about, or Impress or Remix for like a month at that point, where I was just like, this is just an avenue to allow people who want a plat border, can get a plat border, to do it in a different queue.
Well, this is the thing that still to this day is like a dispute, because a lot of people say flex is, you can be carried and you can be boosted with like 4 other teammates, and people do it just to meme and whatnot, and people don't take it seriously. But I mean, ultimately, you could do that in solo queue. If you're doing with a challenger player, they're going to boost you to diamond because they'll just hard carry.
Yeah, if you want a higher rank than you are at, there's so many easy ways to do it. Mm-hmm. That's not the issue. The issue is
we have it on a weekly basis where somebody will say, "Why are we still counting flex?" And it's like, well, we have to. Like, our jobs are not to cater to the minority, but to, God help us with that in the world in a minute, but to work at, like, for the majority. So if it hurts 1 or 2 people, but secures the other 99% of the league, that's what we have to do. And if that means that 1 or 2 people suffer because they got boosted being flex, what else do we do? Do we allow people to get to masters being flex, or what? So
yeah,
we're trying to work a system that works, but every time we do, we sit down, we'll go back and forth, and it just doesn't work. There's always flaws. But moving on, you touched on the reason you joined the admin team was because of Impress, right?
Yeah.
And obviously everyone knows what happened towards, well, I guess at the end of Impress's reign. And there was obviously the video in between. First off, when Remix first came out as a Smurf and Impress made that video, how did you feel about that?
So what a lot of people don't know is Impress made that video off my recommendation. So I can't remember. Let me see if I can find my DMs with him.
Well, I can give a bit of context behind it if you want. So, because I was surprisingly I was involved in the scandal, shock. But how this one was is I remember Remix had played, I think the Shell and whatnot, and a lot of people, well I say a few people knew that he was a Smurf. Notably Rock. That's kind of how I got to find out. And after that we were scrimming. I can't remember what team it was. 7DS I think. We were scrimming them and I was on a team, and Remix played. He played in jungle, and he played Kane, and he did like 3k damage after a 30-minute game. And I remember putting it in all chat after, like near the end, or after the game, the lobby, just memeing it, being like, oh, 3k damage, better pick a spot next time, or something like that. And he got really tilted. Yeah. And like from that, I still believe to this day he hates me because of those comments. And at the time, I was just shit talking, I'll be honest. Like, it probably wouldn't fly these days, but I was just shit talking. And then after those scrims, because he then locked Trundle and then split push because he was like tilted because we won the second game.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then we after the games, I was speaking in a call with Rock, and Rock was like, "So what's even funnier about Remix is I think it's a day later, is that he's actually a plat player, and then he's pretending to be a silver." And I was like in disbelief, and he showed me some of the DMs. He's like, "No, look, he's a plat player." And a couple of days after that, Big Sexy was in a call with us. And Rock told Big Sexy because I like alluded to it, and Big Sexy like went on a meltdown. He was like, I don't want to be in charge of keeping these secrets. He's not my friend. I don't care about him. It's not fair on everyone else. And Big Sexy went into Impress and like had a meltdown. He said, if you don't tell everyone, I will, because it's not fair.
Oh yeah.
I believe that's where Impress then spoke to you.
Yeah, and like my first impression is, all right, good job. You just fucked over the entire league, like. Because why should anyone listen to what you have to say as an owner? Take anything you do seriously if you're going to shit all over your own rules. A best example I can give is fucking like this is Dominic Cummings at the moment, right? Like why like it's fucked up everything, and it made me so angry. I'm really disappointed in him. That was around that point where I was just like, yeah, no. Don't really want to be an admin anymore. And I think that was kind of the first step towards me starting this whole Ice Snake Impress all the time. But yeah, so I was like, okay, obviously he needs to do some damage control because at the end of the day, VL is such a good thing. It should continue. But so you need to do some sort of damage control.
Yeah, that's where we went into the big split, right? So that was after Shell, but before the main split, I'm fairly sure. I'm trying to get my bearings, because, yeah, he must have been. And then went to the big split, Impress still as owner, and that's where we had Peg and Peck. So I'm just doing it from my point of view, so I can remember it on. So it must have been where we were Pecks, and we'd scrimmed, I believe, 7DS. And at the time, maybe I had Rock in there, which is why we probably won, because Rock diff. But then Peg was born, right, with Dewey. And I can't remember, were you on the admin team at the time during this? Because from my memory, it was in Equitas, Remix, Glenn, Impress.
Yeah,
Trav.
I was for a while, yeah, around that time. Because, yeah, I was, because I only left the admin team at the end of that split to play for Pex in the one playoff game.
Right.
Because, I don't know, they need, like, their jungler at the time went just mental boom, like 2 days before, and I was like, okay, they've done really well. Like, I felt bad for John Joe, I felt bad for Mike, Big Sexy at the time. Who the fuck was their mid laner, was it?
It was serious, was it Callie? I think Callie played for them.
Yeah, no, it was Callie, because Callie's internet entered us that game, and he was like 300 ping, so he was 0-5 at 10 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck did I leave admin team for this bullshit for?
So, what I'm alluding to then, so we mentioned Dewey earlier on, he changed the rules he could play, but then, so there was rumours starting to circulate that he'd dodged games, and a few people were saying that he'd done it without any concrete proof, Notably, I think Cradham mentioned it in a piece of content that some now admins. So for those that aren't sure, he was talking about me and Rock. So obviously, God, I dropped that. Rock obviously knew because he then outed him down the line, and the other one is me. Now, I don't know. I don't want to get into specifics because I'm not trying to rewrite history. There were definitely talks about it, right?
Yeah.
And once those talks had happened, I spoke to John Joe. John Joe felt like it was too much to have and told the admins. I don't know, I'm not trying to use it as a platform to clear my name. I guess it is what it is. I wasn't massively opposed to it, but equally, Peg forming ultimately hurt Pegs because we'd lost a coach in Dewey and we lost a sub in Rock. Like, we could rotate out.
Yeah.
And I know Big Sexy at the time was very much of the opinion that they were snaking and we should just leave and not play. And me and him kind of were like, don't do it, don't leave. So, I don't know if encouraging is the right word, but definitely obviously knew at the time without any concrete evidence. And then John Joe ended up telling Inequitas at the time. But before all that happened, there was like a big thing, right, where Dewey and Ruben both got banned without justification.
No. It was Didi and Ruben.
Didi and Ruben, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that got reverted, and then it's like the sites changed, and all of a sudden, Remix and Equitas hated Dewey. Impress didn't seem to it as much, but it seemed to be those two. It was like hound dogs. Now, I don't want to go into like their situation, why they didn't like him or whatever, there are any reasons. But from your point of view, what was it like on the admin team?
It was weird because, like, there was, as you said, quite a obvious divide, and those two didn't like him, and Press was kind of on the fence. I wasn't a big fan of Dewey, but I didn't mind him too much. He's kind of like how I see Callie at the moment, right? Where it's like not great front-facing admin in that he doesn't maybe have like a polite customer voice, which sometimes is what you need, but like probably does good. Dewey did good stuff behind the scenes. I'm sure Callie does, and like, yeah, it's kind of how I feel about. We can mention that later, but talk about that later about Val on the current mod team. But yeah, I didn't mind it too much. I felt so. My main problem with him came after he left, because as soon as he left, he became an arrogant asshole.
Yeah.
And for me, it was quite obvious that he had dodged games because. So the way I looked at it is, end of season. This would have been end of season 8, right? He was higher ranked than Arbush, higher ranked than Inequitas. Somehow ended up 3 ranks below them, despite winning less games in his. No, winning more games in his. Yeah, in his placements. That makes no sense.
Yeah,
and then you look at,
right?
Huh?
The maths just doesn't check out, right?
Yeah, the maths doesn't add up, and then like already at that time, like didn't like him because he was being arrogant, and most people knew he was probably quite a bit above the standard of the rest of the league. And I couldn't help but compare him to Inequitas, also former admin who left, wanted to play, played his rank games out, got 1 rank above, went, sucks. Can I come back to the admin team?
Well, what's really interesting with the Inequitas one, and a lot of people seem to like ignore this, but I remember him doing all his placements really early, except for like the last 2, and then not doing them for a while. So on PEX, we were very much like, oh, we hope he gets it so he doesn't have to play, because obviously he's a good player at the time. And then he waited for a long time, and a lot of rumours started circulating. I don't know where they really came from. I don't know if it was true or not, but he was thinking about potentially inting them. And so we were like, DMs, admins, he's going to int them, blah, blah, blah. And it became like a thing. So Glenn got some hammering from DMs, because he was like, Glenn, you need to watch this guy. He's going to int them. He's going to get it. Look at it, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously you say he just gets goal 3. And then he goes, now I think he puts it in general as a screenshot, being like, oh, guess can't play. And it was like, oh my god, he's not playing. And then Arbush, like the same day, announced that he couldn't play, and he's like, oh my god, he's not playing. And then, like you say, about a day later, Jew was like, oh, I can
Dewey's
play.
like, oh, I got silver 1.
Yeah. And he's like, okay. And again, like, so for those that don't know, Dewey didn't int his placements. Like, he played the placements. He has, I don't know if he still got it, but Rock definitely had all the footage of the games they played. Because a lot of people like, oh, him and Rock are just running it down. And I was like...
There was a couple of games where I felt like, maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
At the end of the day, right, it's a couple of games. It's solo queue. Everyone has those games where, like, I mean, for fuck's sake, my own top lane is banned for inting at the moment, right?
But what actually happened was, like, he dodged placement, so he got negative LP, so when he won, he didn't go up ranks. So, he was like, okay, this is a strange one, and like you say, I think that's probably where it came from with the bad blood between him and Equitas. I didn't really see any other thing, but it was like a jealousy thing, right? That Dewey could play, but I can't. Why can't I play? And I kind of see where that comes from, I guess. But it's certainly become like a bit of a witch hunt, and I think to this day there's still a little bit of a meme.
Is that where yours and Inequitas' bad blood started?
Well, here's the thing, right? I don't know why we've got bad blood. I still remember to this day, Inequitas, when I got made mod, right? I still remember it was on my birthday, because I remember all that stuff, right? And I remember looking and being like, wait, why did Inequitas not vote for me to be like, staff? What's these comments? And I was like, and I DM'd him, I was like, Kevin, I don't know what I've ever done to you, I'm really sorry. Like, and I was very like, humble about it, because I still to this day don't know where RB started. Like, and he always just said that I was like negative with the community, which is fair enough. I was just a little shit kid, I guess. But I don't know where RB was. So and maybe it was.
I think it's a combination of the whole peg thing. He probably holds a couple of people like responsible around that. I'm not gonna lie. At the time, I thought you'd be shit as like mod or whatever. Like I did not like your attitude at the time. And I think you've seen those messages where I'm like, yeah, I don't think he'll do well, but
this is the thing. Like, I never once
give him a chance.
I never once DM'd you and be like, why the fuck have you said this? Because I think everything that anyone ever had opinion of me was warranted. Like, I was banned, like server banned. I was a troll. I like started drama. I was just an awful person. I'll be totally honest. And I still remember that banning and being like, right, actually, need to stop this, and that kind of helped. And then when I was staff, I was like, I need to prove everyone wrong here. So I fully agree. Yeah. I probably wouldn't have taken the chance on me.
No, but like, I think that's kind of where my stuff. I think we can kind of talk about this, like Valk coming into the Ammon team. I've had quite a few people being like, so how do you feel about this, Ice? And I'm like, it's the same sort of situation I have with you and when he joined around the first time for a bit.
Yeah.
Not particular a fan of his personality. Think he might struggle to keep it professional at times, but you know what? He's going to do good work at the end of the day. He's going to put in effort, so why not give him a chance? And I think I even put this in Trash Talk, so I was like, he respects both you and Glenn, so at the end of the day, I trust you and Glenn to be able to rein in any like outbursts he might have at some point.
Well, here's the interesting thing.
He has also grown up because after we could come back to this, but I just quickly want to mention is after we became 70S from CLA, I spent the whole of that like next when they were on stream just trying to bait the living fuck out of him because I find it funny. Like I like getting a reaction out of people at the end of the day, right?
Same.
And you know, he got angry at it and he responded to it, but like nothing near what he used to be like. So,
well, so a bit of backstory then. He first applied to be staff, I guess is the best term, last August. And I remember him. We were at Insomnia. It was.
Was I staff at that point? I think I would have been last August. Yeah, no, because that was when I was still not sure what was happening. You left right at the end,
right? Right.
Yeah, that was around the time when I wasn't sure what was happening with my job.
Yeah.
Because I remember voting on him at first with like basically what I said now. It's like, I don't think he'll do well, but
Well,
if he...
I remember being... So he was at Insomnia, and I remember being sat next to him, and he was like... He'd had a lot to drink, so he was like a very much of a slumped mood, like... And he sat there typing, and for people that don't know, you'll get to know, but he's dyslexic, so he's all these spelling mistakes, and he's got Word open, trying to correct them all. And he sat and typed his application out for about 45 minutes. And he sent it, and I just remember being like, I know what he's doing, I don't want to tell him not to, because I don't want to like be that person. But as soon as it came in, I was just like, nah, no chance. Because like, everything he'd done, and I think it's very much fair for people to have the opinion of it, and I think definitely a lot of people will. And he wrote that application. I still remember reading it and being like, it's a pretty good one. But, nah. I said I'm not going to vote, because obviously, bias, I don't want to, it's my personal friend, blah, blah. And you guys voted, and he got a no. This was, he was in pro at the time. It was like, no, and he's like, okay. But ever since, he was like, always, I want to be on the staff team, I want to be on the staff team. End of this split, I'll stop playing. End of this split, I'll stop playing. Every split. And he said it at the start of this one. He's like, no, for real, this is the last one, not playing another one, I'm going to apply. And then CLT went, ba-ba-boom. And before that had happened, he spoke to in a call with me and Glenn. He's like, what do you think of my chances? And I was like, well, first off, you need to show like a bit about yourself. We have a lot of staff applications these days. So you need to do some sort of organising, some sort of community games. That's where Civ came from. And then I was like, well, do some content, that'll help. Get your name out there that you're not an awful person anymore, that'll help. And in that call, I still remember being like, I don't know if it's like a Big Brother syndrome kind of thing, but I don't know if I'll ever vote positively for you to be an admin or a staff member. Because I still see you as that fucking complaining 18-year-old kid in CL, where everything that came out and he's like, wah! And like, I spoke to you about it, if you remember, not long before he became a mod, and I was like, what's your opinion? Because I always trusted your opinion. Like, even when we were very frosty, I was always like, if nothing else, Ice will be very totalitarian about it and be like, this is what I think, and you don't really care. And so, like, Drigger once put it in a context for me where if Drigger says something and you disagree, it's probably the right thing to disagree with Drigger. If you say something and Drigger disagrees, we'd probably need to have a conversation. But if you both agree, there's probably like a good ground to be sat on. And so
if we both agree, hell's freezing over.
Exactly. It was like, and so I asked your opinion. I was like, what do you think? And you're very much of the opinion that I gave, where probably not front-facing staff. Like, he needs to show that he can be that, but he's going to do a lot of dog work. And at the time, well, I guess like a couple of weeks ago, he's done like pretty much every stream other than tonight. Yes, he's the IRL birthday thing that he had to do. But every other stream for the past 3 weeks he's been doing, no complaints, offering to do it. And he goes, doing the content every week, gets it done. And he's like, he doesn't have to be front of house. Like, he can answer some tickets, but like you say, he can do good work behind the scenes. And ultimately, and I guess this is from more my point of view than the rest of the staff team, I don't know if I'm overruling them, but if he does fuck up, he's on thin ice, right? Like, much like when Cali first joined, he's on thin ice. Probably more so. And if he does make a mistake, we just have to cut him because we can't take the risk.
Yeah.
But like you say, I think he'll very much respect me and Glenn enough not to. So we'll see.
He's also grown up, right? It's been 3 years. Like,
he has. He massively has.
I do actually want to. I just quick as a side note. Apparently, I was the person who bought you guys Motor Joe. I'm just reading back through our first DMs.
Possibly, yeah.
And like, yeah. So basically, our first DMs is me going, "Hey, you guys still looking for a mid? Yeah, possibly." I'm like, "Okay, check out this dude Motor Joe."
Is this when you were getting Smurfs and replacing? But yeah, I think probably
yeah. It was.
Makes sense. Because I just remember one day, did you message me or Valk?
I messaged you.
Okay, I was like, use this guy. Like, let's try him out. If he's any good, he can take my spot like immediately. So that makes sense, which is interesting. And we also had Delight. A lot of people don't know that. Delight, me, Val, Joe, Glenn, always PDC, and Waver, Trigger as well, Rock. I think that's everyone. Okay, so moving on from that, so that split happened. We had the big split where a lot of things came out. And then we had Impress stepping down. He made Hyper owner. There were a couple of applications at the time. I think there was 4. Mine.
Yeah, it was
Drigger. Byron.
Drigger. I don't know who the 4th.
Hyper,
honestly,
right? Queen definitely was gonna. I don't know if he did, but I know Queen was definitely.
He got it in after the deadline because I remember we talked about it in old 7DS chat.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think the conversations went along the lines of Drigger, no. Byron, probably not. Joycey, definitely not. Okay, we'll take Hyper. And I think I remember reading the admin room because I was scrolling to find something. And I remember seeing a conversation along the lines of it's like having Trump or Hillary Clinton. There's not really a good choice, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the time Hyper took over. What were your thoughts on that initially? Was that a good choice? You obviously knew him more than most.
I mean, I think at the time, like you described it, I felt, whether right or wrong, in Drigger, absolutely no, because he will, as much as he puts in effort and like, he will mental boom. It will happen. It's Drigger. It's going to happen. And he'll come back in a month or whatever, a couple of weeks, whatever, and be okay, and then continue on. Byron, no. That came from a combination of he was on. So a lot of people don't know this. I was also a admin in a league called Rivals, which is basically what VL was to the Golden Plat community at the time.
Yep.
And Byron was a fellow admin at the time, and he just at that point in time just couldn't make hard decisions. Like, if it came down to there's a possible Smurfs, like 95% sure he's a Smurf. It does not help the league at all. But you don't have concrete proof. Byron will leave him unbanned. He was at that time very easy to convince to change his mind. And with the way VL was at the time, he would have been run over.
Yeah. Well, I remember. So obviously, Hyper got it. We'll come back onto your opinion. I remember in the CR chats back then, so I was one of the community reps, because these were the voted ones, and then eventually a lot of people just got them. And I remember Byron and Hyper being in there, and I was very much against that, because I was like, well, it should just be Byron, why is Hyper in here? Because I always felt like whatever Hyper said, Byron agreed with. And so me and Byron would go backwards and forwards, Hyper would jump in, and Byron would just be like, yeah, I agree with Hyper. And I was very much against it. And so me and Hyper had a lot of, like, arguments back then. And it was pretty interesting that, because I always thought if there was somebody who wouldn't let me be staff, it'd have been Hyper. So we had a lot of backwards and forwards. And
whatever you might say about Hyper, like, he's willing to give people chances, and
yeah, I agree. And
which was kind of caused a massive like exodus of admins at the time, right? Because both Iniquitous and Remix quit because you got staff.
Was that the reason?
Yes.
Oh wow, I thought they just left with Impress.
I don't know about Remix. I think it was 50-50. Iniquitous 100% because you got staff.
Jeez, didn't know that. See?
Because it wasn't anonymous, in whatever the word is.
Yeah.
There was one, like, they both were against, then Hyper went in and went, no, we're giving him a chance. And I think actually, if you read up through, so I think I can reveal this, but
leaks.
Mischief archive, right? There's definitely at one point where Iniquitous goes, like, he screenshotted something of you posting a staff member, goes, well, my last comment in here. Something like this, I think.
See, like I say, I didn't know there was a beef. And Kevin, if you're watching this, get my DMs, let's sort it out, because I have nothing against you. So, you got the message, or... You're scrolling through, I can see the laugh, because I know you're in that channel. There's some things
like,
in there.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's some interesting things.
If people pay me
VL would have
coins,
a fucking nightmare. Like, if Mischief Archive got released,
yeah, that's not good. That's never public. Never.
Never.
We can't afford it.
No.
There's not enough coins to go around. Yeah,
Do I get coins for doing this, by the way? I think I should.
Maybe we'll talk about it after, because otherwise Callie will be asking for a salary again. So yeah, he's like one of the things where, like, those applications came in. Eventually, they chose Hyper. As you said, I if I was in your shoes, I'd have gone the similar type of thing. You knew Hyper, you could trust him, you played with him for a team for a little while, and ultimately, you could trust his opinion. So I'm guessing that was a pretty good thing for you at the time, right?
Well, yeah, it was like, I didn't really, like, all I knew of you was you were a bit of a troll, like the bait stuff. I did get the impression that, yes, you'd probably put in, like, proper hard work for it. But at the time, I thought Hyper would do the same, because he was quite active as an admin back then, I think. Or active as, like, a CR or whatever.
Was it? He was the coach of Undercover, right?
Yeah, but he was quite active in the community, and I thought he'd, okay, maybe he's a bit more lenient than I would like. Well, I thought he would be a more fair opinion than you, because my opinion at the time of you was you were probably a bit biased.
Yeah, I can see that. So, Hyper comes in. I think that's roughly not long after where you decided to go back and play, right?
It wasn't so much that I decided; it was more of it opened up for me to play. Because I was just starting. I just finished university. I was about to start a new job. That was getting on the way. At the time, I wasn't sure how I was going to be in terms of, like, I was still living at my mum's house at that time, which was like an hour and a half commute to work. So it just wasn't feasible for me to play. Yep. But what ended up happening is someone that I lived with at uni also got a job in and around London. We found a place, literally 15-minute walk for me to get to work. He can get a train into central London for work. It's perfect. I was like, okay, yeah, I can make it back for 6 o'clock now, even though I finished work at 5:30. Yeah, I had this team. I had been involved with the DBA tryouts bit. I was like, yeah, I like Arbush. Thought he'd be a good coach at the time.
Because this was when they changed the allowance, right, to plat.
Yeah, there was the silver, gold, and the gold plat.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go play instead.
So time-wise, this would have been May?
About a year ago.
Yeah, May 2019, right? June 2019.
June, because today was my 1-year anniversary of starting that job.
Right, cool. So that's a good market. It allows us to work it out. Cool. It's June 2019. So the admin team after you left became me, Glenn, Hyper, Trav. I believe that was it?
Yes.
Okay. So to give some insight on that then, what then became, as you alluded to, Hyper, you thought would have been active. He got ganked by IRL. He obviously prioritized IRL. And a lot of things came up.
As you should. Like,
yeah, obviously. I'm not condemning him. I don't have a lot of bad words to say about Hyper. My early interactions, a million bad words. Later interactions, not many. No. But to put it in perspective, we had Trav, who, other than streaming, just never showed up in anything. You'd ask him to come to meetings, he probably would. He'd just sit there, but he wouldn't say a word. He'd maybe make like a single noise halfway through the call, and that was it. So I called him the turtle. He's still got the turtle picture on, I think. Glenn, he's never really been anything front facing. He doesn't really do much ticket wise. He just does a lot of coding and ultimately stays away from teams and
Glenn is my attitude, like, and inflexibility screwed up to 11.
Yeah.
Is how I see him.
But ultimately, there's a lot of good things in the background that people won't ever know or really recognize. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the cards thing. Other than making them, which is Queen and Lev, Glenn coded the.
Like everything system. There is Glenn. All the code stuff is Glenn. Like anyone who knows anything about like dev work knows that's Glenn.
A lot of the stream stuff. So obviously Franklin did a lot with the website and Mark with the graphics, but all the back work, the stuff getting running, coding, Glenn. Tickets, Glenn. Coding, all Glenn, right? So you don't. Yeah. But he doesn't do much in terms of like sorting things out. He doesn't really contribute to many discussions. And then you had Hyper, who was active, became owner, and then very quickly stopped contributing. And I was in a position where I was like, if I don't, I think like much like when you in the early VL, whereas like if you don't do this, it's gonna drown.
Yeah.
And the others kind of had the opinion of it just run itself, and I was like, but it won't. We need to get signups out. We need to get teams registered. And I remember doing the signups, checking teams. So if any Smurfs, sorry, that was my fault. Getting them registered, getting them signed up.
It wasn't just your fault. Like I helped you check at the time.
Yeah.
Joe helped you check. Like
yeah.
You brought
So
we
had a couple of people to check people, but like all the registration and everything, had to get all that done. Had to get the scheduling done. Had to get tournament done. And this is at a time where Impress had done all the tournament stuff. I had not a clue. Still don't really know how to use tournament. So that's what always messes up. That's me because I don't know how to use it. But I was like, I just picked up all this. I was like, right, I need to make this work. Let's do it. Let's do all this. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. Which is kind of why the content died, because there was no one really there to push it. Impress was doing his State of the League, which Trigger once told me that if you start doing content, people start following you. And I guess we just didn't. And so, in terms of content, everything like that all went downhill. But I was just there, like, every ticket, bah, 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 every, like, issue, bah, 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 game days, every day, I was there. And which is why at the time people started getting that opinion that without me, like, it'd sink. Which I'm not saying that's true. Even today, somebody, I think it was Ruben, said he trusts my direction with whatever I do. I've done great so far. And my response was, I just have a good community and good team around me. And I don't like taking the credit for it. But back then it was like, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. VL's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I was doing it. And obviously that like led to Hyper stepping down and then giving me ownership. But in that split, my original point, segue, was Impress made a team, he made Ike. And Ike originally had Endeavour in mid. And Endeavour didn't do his games. And then out of nowhere, Ike brought in a mid laner. And at the time everyone was like, this is just Remix, it's Remix. And so we investigated it, and we wanted to do a call with Hyper, because it's like, Hyper, your owner, you'd know him best, blah, blah, blah. Go and have this call. He did the call, he told him he was going to record it, he recorded it. And Hyper afterwards came in and he was like, it's not Remix. Like, it's not. And so we listened, he was like, okay, we trust your word, Hyper, sure, okay. And so we closed all the tickets, and Remix played the split. And then, I still remember it, I think it was the 21st of December, I don't know why I remember it, but 21st of December of last year, 2019. I was now owner. Rock had come in as an admin after the Dewey thing, so we'll skip past that, it's well documented now. And I just randomly said, oh, we still have this clip, this is Wanty, blah, blah, and sent it him. And Rock joined the call instantly, and was like, that's Remix. What the fuck? That's Remix. No, Joycey, you don't understand, I've been in calls with Remix, I played on a team with him, that's Remix. And I was like, what? So then, we did a bit of a sting operation. So I trust Rockwood, right? And he has his issues, he's had a lot of misdemeanors, but I do trust his word. I'm very good friends for a long time now. And he said, Joycey, if there's nothing else, I'm telling you the truth. This is Remix. And at the time, Nav was an admin, and if you'd have watched the podcast with Rock the other day, you'll have known that there's a bit of, I guess, bad blood in that. I'm not really getting too much into it, but Nav was like...
I had issues with Nav as well, but...
Yeah.
Whatever.
And Rock was like, ooh, we'll go into that in a minute. Nice, write that down. But Rock was like, it's definitely Remix. Nav was like, are we sure he's not just trying to screw over Impress or whatever? And so, put the doubts in. But we was like, okay, we'll do a sting operation with Impress. So I DM'd Impress. I said, look, I have a way around, like, all this being a problem for you. Join a call before F1. It was like a Saturday. So F1's at 6. Join a call about 5. We'll get it all sorted. No problem. And we didn't tell Impress how. Because the reason why I think I'm going to bring this up is because, as I said, I think you were good friends with Impress. You'd recently done a podcast where me and Rock was on it. It was going to be a thing. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was definitely just one episode. And it's just always in the back of my mind that you're going to obviously have a big say on this. So on the Saturday, we get him in a call. We say, if you want to truly show us that you don't know about Remix, show us your chat logs. Share your screen, we'll go into DMs right now, and we'll back you up 100%, blah blah. And Impress goes in there. We still have the clip of me sighing. So like told Impress, right, I was going to record all this so we can go through it if we need to. Like, no problem. Went through it, and Rock's translating on the fly. And Impress is like, one is meant to be like 16-year-old, and Impress is like, oh, don't forget the Bluetooth speaker when we go to this party at the weekend, and or whatever. He's like, well, why are you having these DMs with a 16-year-old with Impress? He's like, And eventually, halfway through, he's like, do we need to do this anymore? Or have you got what you got? And I just remember turning around and saying, Impress, did you know? And he went, yes. And I just went, oh, Impress. And to this day, like, Callie still memes it because it's a really funny clip. But then we obviously went into the ban list and blah, 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 blah. There's more on that story. I guess we probably should get into it. Good content.
Fucking hell, Impress, like...
But, go on, tell me your thoughts. When all that came out, what do you feel?
You've done... He's done it himself. Like, I don't understand how he can have a problem with the way you guys handled the ban. Because, yes, I agree with him.
We'll go into it in a minute.
Like,
because I can tell you why, and I can understand his point of view, right? But how did you feel on like a friendship level? Because I know how I felt. Because through most of that, I wasn't
really friends, but like, it's like I lost full respect. Like, what little respect I had left for him after the first time was like it was all gone at that point. And then it's just gotten worse because he's being a little like bitch about it, basically, in my opinion. Like, he knows he's told me in DMs that he thinks that your end decision was right. The only thing he has an issue with is you went, okay, this is your first ban, but we're still discussing it. And then you changed it to be harsher. I'm like, how can you have a problem with that? You did the exact same thing when you were owner. You're just complaining for the sake of complaining. And every time I see him in BL, it's just, he complains for the sake of complaining. And it's like, get over it. No one cares about you anymore. You're banned. Like, just.
So, as you explained a little bit, the initial ban was that he couldn't play. Remix obviously couldn't play, and then the reason why we put those out so quick because I guess excitement got the better of us in a sense. Excitement, bans, but we put the remix when we wanted to get it out to clear all the wanty stuff up. Ultimately, if somebody just left the Discord or if people just like stop talking or whatever, people click on. Impress talks a lot, and so Impress originally asked us just to let him leave. All the Ike players would leave. They'd go and join another league. Don't reveal it. And at the time, that'd be Sean Houston, Charmander Nerd. Can't remember who the support was. I think Weasel was in as a sub. But ultimately, he wanted to go and play another league without it coming out. And we were like, that's not fair. Of everything else that we've ever done, can't do that. So we put the remix one out. Well, we wanted to put the remix one out. But then we felt like if we did that, Impress would just be witch hunted. Like, he'd be persecuted. Everyone would hate him. He'd get so many DMs, so much message, harassment. And we wanted to avoid that. On top of that, we'd have also had a backlash of, well, what's Impress getting? Why aren't we banning him? What's going on with that? And so we said, what we'll do is we'll put them both out, but then we'll discuss where we actually go with yours, because it's multiple times. There's still a Twitter message, whatever he posted, saying that we weren't going to look at misdemeanor past issues because it's in the past, but we looked at his. It's not the case. It is more a case of it's multiple offences and you're getting punished this once. But
no. So even if you don't look at his past, he himself banned someone indefinitely for being part of the team, for knowing about Smurf.
Yeah.
Going by his own standard. And I remember this because I was the one who did all of the, it was for that team called, it was I can't remember what they're called, but it was Oryx.
Dowdak.
And no, it was before Dowdak. It was, let me find it in fucking ban list.
The good old ban list. But yeah, just while you find that. His ultimate issue.
STLR.
With, Gus. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, Luke was on that. Kiddles. He got boosted by Samurai?
No, he wasn't on the team. He was friends because what happened is, STLR Quadra
Yes.
was the person who ended up boosting Luke. He came in to, for a bit, be on a team with me, Luke, and Kui as our coach. So the whole reason they got found is the STLR Quadra account was a co-owned account between STLR Orax and someone who was around the early days of VL called Rob Royal. And I had played with Rob Royal, who, by the way, is like a Diamond 4 player, on that account when he was smurfing to like basically boost me in solo queue. I'm like, wait, I know this account. I know this is not someone's primary account. And I know Oryx knows this account because he's close friends with Rob Royal. So obviously he knows it's a Smurf account. Yeah. So we threw the book at him and we're like, no, you're gone. You're banned from playing. You're banned from any association with the team within VL for forever.
Yeah. And I think that was fair. And like ultimately, do I think the Impress thing was right? Yes. I think it's a fair thing. It is multiple things, but on top of that, he harboured a Smurf, right? And we've punished other people for a lot less than him bringing his best friend in twice. I can kind of understand why he's saying it's like it was like so many. Like I think it was a week later that we then said it was team owned. But on the other hand, to discuss that, to get everyone together, to vote on it, probably 7 days is too many. But 3 or 4, definitely not. Like, but I don't know. We did that to protect him from harassment. As much as you might say that wasn't the case, whatever, probably still DMs about it. But it's definitely like, we don't want him to be harassed, and on top of that, we don't want to be inundated with like people saying, "Get this," blah blah. But you know, the past is behind. We'll see if he sticks around and clears his name, because as we'll go on to the whole rule change, I'm sure we'll discuss that. But after that, you obviously went and played for 7DS, I believe. Am I right in the timeline?
No.
So Deja Vu?
No, that was Deja Vu Academy.
And then obviously you finished that split, pretty drama free. And then you went to 7DS. Yeah?
WSL.
WSL.
7DS was, yeah.
Yeah. I've got it still down as 7DS, but yeah, WSL. Now, Cliff did a recent podcast where it's pretty much well documented. Because you're on the team with Cliff, right? I'm not getting that right. Yeah. Where there's a lot of issues. I think you and Stoned clashed, I want to say. Let's talk us through that.
My issue was, I didn't feel like I deserved to be on that team, but like I was so much worse than most people on that team in terms of pure mechanics.
Okay.
So for me, when I'm putting in effort, I'm putting in time. I'm trying to spend time with like with Silverback, trying to do what I can to improve from my side, because I felt like I was a weak point at the start. And I see, okay, I'm starting to get better, I'm starting to get more consistent. And all I see from Stoned is same issues week in, week out. Like, when we try and bring it, like, there was a scrim where he single-handedly loses us a game because me and Endeavor call and engage around Baron, and he decides to spend 50 minutes walking around the other side of Baron. And I bring it up after him, like, why are you doing this? And I didn't say, why are you doing this? In, like, anyone who's been on a team with me knows if I have a problem with someone, I'm being very harsh about it.
Yeah. And
I'm being straight up front about it, yeah. So I was like, what the fuck? Why are you doing? Like, how can you keep doing this week in, week out? And his immediate response is, shut the fuck up, you piece of shit, or something along those lines. And I'm just like, why should I be putting in my time for this? Because I was putting in a lot of time at the time when I just started a new job. Like, I was getting into a very intense phase of my work. Like, to the point where on game days, I would literally finish work at 6:55, get in an Uber, run in the door, turn on my computer, and be there for the game. And I just feel like Stone was shitting all the way, like, up and down me, refusing to put in time, whatever. That's how I felt. And I was like, you know what? If he's not going to improve it, I'm fucking leaving the team. Which is a very famous, like, this gets memed about by me, by everyone in 70s. There's a scrim where we're getting hard smacked by Plague, I think. And I go, 15 minutes into the game, I go, fuck this. I hate this game. Find a new fucking jungler. And I mute myself for the rest of that game. But yeah, so they're like, okay, start looking. Week after, Stone gets banned. That saved our team. Like,
yeah, Cliff said a similar sentiment when Drigger said what turned WSL around. He said Stone getting banned.
Yeah.
Like, so for people that don't know,
like no hate for Stone as a person. I'm I think he's a really nice person. He's a great person, but he just wasn't putting in the time that I think that team deserved.
I played in a team with Stoned. I was in the admin team. We couldn't play in VL. We went and played in RG. We were called PTT, which if anyone knows why the admin team was called. It was PTSD, and that's why. It's a play on the words, I guess. But play through top side, because at the time it was going to be rock top. So it was like, oh, just play through top side. It was a funny meme. And then it was rock. Who was jungle? It's really blanking who the jungle is. Shenzhen.
No, I thought it was Towie top.
No, we brought Towie after. So original iteration was Rock, Shenzhen, me mid, Valk and Stone in bot lane, and Stone AD carry lane. And Stone and Valk just didn't work. Like, as much as we tried it, they were on pro together, it didn't work there. We tried it in PTT, it didn't work. And we called them the chimps in bot lane. We played through top side with like me, Shenzhen and Rock doing plays, them just farming. And not long after, basically, Stone was like, I can't play bot. And so he wanted to go top, yeah. Because originally we were going to do Rock AD carry. And then we said no, Rock top. And then Stone wanted to go top. The Shenz didn't have time, so Rock went jungle. And we couldn't really find an AD carry. So what we did is we looked for a top or AD carry. We found Towie. Stone went AD carry again, which still didn't work. And then we put Towie top. And then we did another roster swap. We put Rock support, Valk jungle. Bot lane would pop off because Rock support, that's what he does.
On that note, like, why is Valk not playing jungle? I genuinely think he would be, as a point of view, Shenzhen got voted the second best jungler in VL, like, at the start of this split. Probably wouldn't be anymore. I struggled more against Valk than I did against Shenzhen whenever I played, like, when he was younger.
I liked it, I'll be honest. Long story short, Stone didn't really work on a team. I think he just needed to be top, needed to be brain-dead champs like Urgot and whatever. He can just go and fucking bonk top lane and do his thing. Really good top laner, I think, because he doesn't have to communicate too much and play in a duo. But AD carry, I wasn't too sure. On the Valk front, I just don't think he liked it because I feel like he didn't want to commit to learning it. So, rightly or wrongly, Valk always says his biggest strength is communication, right? People meme that as much as they want, I guess. But
probably one of the strongest detractors to that point, yeah. But
ultimately, he felt like him playing jungle, he couldn't, because he's still learning the role. He couldn't shot call or do the communication that he want to do in support. And so I guess that's why he didn't want to play jungle. I don't know. But he joined CLT, they needed a voice, he was that voice, they had a lot of mechanics in there, they just needed someone to say, let's do this. And that was a good fit. But yeah, he didn't like jungle for that reason. I feel like had he learned it and played it for a year, he'd probably be really good in fives, because he could do the not
I don't even think he needed a year. I think he needed...
maybe not.
Month and a half, and he would have been good to go.
But a lot of his champs, he couldn't play stuff like Jarvan, because it was too, I guess, squishy, which is funny because it's Jarvan. But his champs were basically Zac, Nunu, Zac and Nunu. There's a few others, but mainly tanks, right? Sedge, Poppy,
I think, yeah.
He was like very strong, tanky champs that could afford to not die. He's currently playing top and really enjoying it again because he's playing a lot of those champs. So maybe he goes back to jungle. I thought he was a good jungle. I loved doing with him because he just camped me and, Sedge camping like a Nivea. It's really fun. But, I don't know. I do agree, and I remember he always used to say that after you'd done the tryouts at 7DS, he always like me and Ice are on good terms.
WSL.
Dude,
WSL.
On good terms. Like Ice was like, oh, we gave each other tips. He was very complimentary about my jungle and whatnot.
Yeah,
like,
no, I struggled more against Valk than I did against like Wisetown, Shenzhen, basically anyone who tried out. And then somewhere near the bottom is Bauer. Just
I don't know.
being a rat.
I think as long as he's not on, and I've always said this, so long as micro-intensive champ start in his pool, I think he can be a good player in a lot of lanes. Like, he doesn't have CS, obviously, so jungle makes more sense. But
I don't fucking know how to CS. No one.
Yeah, that's it. You've played jungle for what? 7 seasons? 8 seasons?
No. Actually, I only started jungling in season 7. I used to be an ADC, top main, ADC main, support main, and then jungle main.
But he's literally played support since season 2. So he doesn't know lanes, he doesn't know lane control, doesn't know CS. You could argue a lot of Div 4 and 3 and admin players don't know how to do those things, but ultimately he doesn't know how to. But jungle is obviously PVM.
Yeah.
Battle the monsters. But yeah, I guess that's why. But yeah, you said Stoned obviously was the saviour. There's a lot to say on the coaching team. There's been a lot of people say a lot of things about the coaching team.
Just, on Red, our coaching team was good because our coaching team was Alex Silverback.
Yeah.
We didn't have to interact with fucking Fatal.
I knew it was gonna be
Fatal. That person, like, man. He has no redeeming qualities in my eyes. Like, at least, like, Loxar gets shit in the community for being, like, very loud about his opinions or whatever. But, you know, if you actually talk to Loxar in, like, a one-on-one situation or you're playing a different game or just some duos or some whatever, he's actually a good bloke.
Oh, and keep talking. I'm not going to be on camera. I'm going to get more drinks, but I'm still
Alright, and when he did coach us, his opinions made sense. Like, what you were saying made sense. He was focusing more on, like, basics like laning and mechanics and whatever. And then you have fucking Fatal, who just sits there and goes, you know what, pros do Herald rotation at 8 minutes. That means my silver gold team is going to do Herald rotations at 8 minutes. Never mind the fact that they can't do basic lane management.
Yeah, lots of people said the same thing about Fatal. And, don't know, I memed on it on the pub quiz memes a lot about him playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't in the situation, so I can't comment too much, but he never really defended himself, right? On the Luxar point, so people know obviously he was involved in PTT very little, but towards the end. But we were becoming pretty good friends, and I'm still, like, anyone that says Luxar's a bad person, I disagree with, because I feel like his intentions are right, but I feel like the people around him make him a worse person. So,
definitely, I fully agree.
I don't know. You like the Fatal, Clarky, who I didn't really have much interaction with, so maybe that's a bad judgment. But they all kind of make him a worse person, right?
Things about Clarky from Rivals days. So,
but,
yeah, I'm not a big fan of him.
Whenever, like, the Civ games, he was very nice. He was very much trying to help people learn it. When we duoed, or when he watched my streams, he'd offer nice advice or be a nice guy about it. So, yeah. What about, was anyone else on the coaching team or just Alex?
Oh, it's just Alex. Fatal, no, not Fatal. Like, Loxar would join in once in a while to do some mid stuff or just like some hype. He's a very good hype man. So he'd come in and like do some hype stuff.
Go on then, stroke Alex's ego. Tell us what he did well, for those that don't know.
He drafts what he puts in time for draft. Like, he puts in mad time for draft.
Didn't on PTS fucking D, I'll tell you that.
Well, no, but he admitted that, right? He said that from day one. This isn't a serious team. I'm not going to put in my full effort.
Well,
he's very honest about if you're doing something wrong. And he does not hide if what you're doing wrong. So, which, for some people, that's fantastic.
Yeah, to cut in very quickly, I'm not going to take much of it. But for those that don't know, he's obviously on the admin team, staff team, whatever. I have a lot of respect, always have really for him. But especially since he joined staff, like, I think we've grown pretty close.
I think that's the best like hire you've had since you became owner, basically. Like,
oh, that's nice of you to say.
I respect the shit out of that man, but like, yeah.
On PTSD, so originally we were called Playthrough Stress Disorder, because obviously the play on words. After our first scrim, we lost because of comp diff, and Alex said it straight away in the call afterwards, and he's like, fuck me, didn't realise we were renaming to Playthrough Shit Drafts, and he was like, okay. That's how it became a meme. But yeah, like, whenever you've spoken to anyone that's been coached by Alex, I've never had anyone say a bad thing about him, right? He's blunt, he's crass, he'll call you a retrobate, for those that don't get what that means, because we had some complaints, fucking idiots. He'll tell you to shut the fuck up and move on, but that's because he can't be bothered with the bullshit. But he's a really fucking nice person.
I think a lot of people don't know this, right? But when I joined WSL Red, obviously I'm the weak member. I'm the weak member on that team. Like, I'm sitting there, Hearts not Gold 4.
You're just a points.
Yeah, I'm just there for points, right? But he goes, you know what, Ice? I don't know jungle very well. If you want help, I'll learn the role for you, and I'll help you out. Like, who does that for an amateur league? Who wants to put in that amount of time for some random fucking 25-year-old in an amateur league? Like, it's insane.
Like, I don't know, if you ever speak to him, anyone that does speak to him, he does himself down a lot. He'll say, I have a lot of problems, I hate people, blah, blah. And then you get to know him, and it's like, no, you don't. You're one of the nicest people you could possibly meet, and anyone that can call you a friend is a fucking lucky person. And I think that's my note on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Okay, so segueing in away from that then. So 7DS obviously being some issues and whatnot. Speaking of issues, you mentioned
WSL Red, for fuck's sake.
Oh my god. Do you know what? I'm going to change it. On my notepad, it's still 7DS.
Yes.
Oh, WSL. There you go.
7DS comes later.
It does. Well, earlier than later, right? So they had issues, but you said you had issues with Nav. So I'm presuming that's around this point, so starting into last split, I want to say.
Yeah.
But go on, explain where all that came from. What's that beef?
So
Be brutal.
From what I can remember, there's a slight overlap of me being admin, him being admin, or like I'm mod or something. I'm helping staff, basically. And my first introduction to him is him just, from what I can tell, being an ass for the sake of being an ass. And just having such... I don't understand, because Nav, I feel like we have very similar opinions. Like, we're very strict as people.
Yeah.
But sometimes the opinion I get of Nav is he just wants to be different for the sake of being different. Okay. My best, like, the example I can give is today in politics chat.
I saw it.
Dan posts a Twitter of, yes, it's a meme, it's a joke, it's whatever, but it's very clearly relevant to what's going on. And Nav goes out of his way to, as far as I can tell, remove all context and goes, oh, this isn't serious, why are you posting, why is a mod posting this in here, staff is bad, bloody bloody blah. I think at one point he even calls Dan's opinion stupid, or like basically just from what I can tell is just being different for the sake of being different, and won't listen to when everyone else but Dan tunes in and go, no, what Dan's saying is fine, it's clearly relevant. And it's just
it was an interesting one.
Feels now, like he's just...
I don't want to talk on his behalf. Obviously, when he was staff, we had a close working relationship. As you do, you can imagine. For those that don't really know, the staff team are pretty much in calls most nights. Just sitting, playing games or chilling with each other. So you kind of... It's a bit more like a team, right? So you build up that camaraderie. And it was the same with Nav, who was in calls every day. And so I got to really know him really well. And I thought he was a really good guy. I suppose I always look at the nice side of people anyway, but I thought he was a really good guy, and I still do. I don't want to defend him too much because I feel like he's his own person and he will. But
oh yeah, I'm gonna get added by him when this comes out. I can I'm sure, but
there's definitely I guess issue. I don't want to say too much because it's not really my place. But I guess he said it publicly before that he's what's the word I'm looking for? Like, sort of on the spectrum, I guess, in a non-insulting way. Like there's a higher functioning person or whatever, I think is the term that was used.
Okay, I didn't know that. Fair enough.
And I feel like that probably lends itself to it, where you can't sometimes differentiate between it. I don't know, maybe I'm just making that up and I'm going to get at it as well. Sorry, Nav, love you still. But I feel like that probably feeds into it, and some people don't know how to handle that, I guess. But
yeah,
ultimately, like, I saw the politics thing this morning or this afternoon, and I was like, that just seems like a pointless argument for pointless sake. Like,
I'm not gonna lie. I messaged Dan going like, "How is he not probation yet? Because he's clearly flaming."
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell, it's just trolling for the sake of trolling. And Dan goes, "I don't know if I can say this, but like, yes, I agree, but I can't do it on my own because it's just going to look like me retaliating as a staff member."
It's interesting. We definitely like discussed it. I'll say that as it happened, and Alex put his opinion across and said, "Look, I don't think Nav was going out his way to troll Dan. Like, I just think he didn't get."
I'll be honest. Dan, if Dan wants to, mess with Dan knows how to
push buttons,
like draw out people's push buttons, whatever. And I've had problems with Dan in the past.
Everyone's had problems with Dan.
Dan's in the past, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you take that in context, that Nav doesn't really sometimes understand the difference. I don't know. But is that the only beef? Is there more to it?
Well, like, I don't know. I've just always had this opinion of him, and it's like, to be honest, I'm not sure. I can't point out where exactly it's come from. But all I've heard of him on staff team is it's just him being contrary for the sake of being contrary. Well, I don't know if I should say this, but like,
yeah, do it.
The opinion that I got from a lot of staff around the time he was staff is he just backed up Nyx for the sake of because they're dating, and those two were just like their own team within the admin team, and would sometimes just like run their own thing.
Okay.
To the contrary of some other admins, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
You can name names. I feel like
for me, I can see that being true.
So, a lot of people in the community felt like it. The problem with Nav and Nyx being on the staff team together is you're always going to have those things tied together, right?
Yes.
Because that's just how it's going to be. It's like, if I was in a relationship with someone else in the admin team and I said something and they backed me up.
Well, you're not in a relationship with Glenn.
Not yet. I keep trying, he keeps knocking me back. A few more drinks, maybe I'll DM him tonight. But ultimately, like, they're going to have that tag, rightly or wrongly, and as soon as someone says something, it'll be, why is he white knighting?
Yeah, now, and people are going to, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm guilty of this. People are going to look for the smallest thing.
And I think Nav and Nyx both knew that, and I don't think they really had many issues with people thinking it, because ultimately that's what people are going to say and do. Now, you'll see people in tickets, they'll say something, like Callie will say something, and I'll come in and I'll agree. People don't say that me and Callie are backing each other up. They'll just say, well, you've got two opinions. As soon as you put in a relationship, it changes. Now, I'm not saying Nav and Nyx didn't agree on everything, and they backed each other up because of that. I'm just trying to give another opinion.
Yeah, no, it's...
What I do want to say, so in the recent podcast with Rock, he mentioned about Nav leaving admin and whatnot, and I think he kind of nailed most of the things in there. What I do want to put across is, so Nav voted down Rock's adminship promotion from trial admin, which, rightly or wrongly, I don't know. We chose to overrule Nav because we'd already knew he was leaving for CLA, and it was have Nav for a week or have Rock for, I don't know, a year, a month, 2 months. Like, if you're trading off an admin for another admin, it makes sense to have more time. And I suppose that's maybe a shitty way to look at it, but that's kind of my head. It was like, well, if we don't promote Rock, he's going to feel like we're choosing Nav's side for no reason, or I guess for a reason, whatever. If we do promote Rock, Nav's going to feel like we're choosing Rock's side, but ultimately our justification here is that Nav's leaving. And I spoke to Glenn at length about this, that, like, should we count Nav's vote? Because he is leaving. And he's ultimately choosing somebody who's going to take his spot. And so that's kind of why we did that. Obviously, Nav felt the way he did and left. I feel like we're on a lot better terms these days. I remember DMing him at the time saying, look, I have nothing against you. I still really like you. If you ever want to talk, whatever. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And it never really did for a long time. In recent weeks, that's changed. We've had some calls and stuff. But what a lot of people seem to not realise is that Nix also left staff like the same day, which may back your argument. So Nix's justification was for us to overrule Nav and choose Rock's side. She can't continue working in an admin team who do that, who compromise their morals, I think she said. I don't know. But, I'll leave for you.
Yeah, for me, there's no morals there. You're choosing a 1 week relationship versus a potential for an infinite relationship at that point.
So I'll leave that up for people to make their own minds up on. I don't know. Again, me and Nix haven't really spoken since she left staff, whereas before we spoke quite a lot. I thought Nix did some great work. She was a really, really good staff member. Strict at times, but ultimately that's good in a team because you have different opinions.
I think Nix was a great, like, what she did with, in terms of, yes, most people wouldn't agree, didn't like the way she handled the content team. I thought it was good because, let's be honest, most people here are, 22, 21, they need someone to go, this is your deadline, do it by this time.
Well, and then I'll flip it on it, right? What Drigger's now done, or what he's obviously taken a break from, but the last 5 weeks, is no different from what Nix wanted to do, but he did it in a lax way, but then structured it himself. Nix pointing it out there and saying we want a structure is exactly what Drigger's done. We have Name It or Flame It every Monday, we have this or that every Thursday, we have podcasts pretty much every weekend. That's the same thing, just in a more, like, let's get it done forward way. So yeah, I do agree. Like, I think having some sort of routine is good because everyone expects what's coming. And ultimately, it gets hype, right? So, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. But we'll move on from the Nav and Nix convos because I think it leads nicely into your next move into the league. So, this is more like this season, right? Season 10, you were looking for team. WSL had done their thing. WSL, not 7DS. I got it right.
Good job.
Thanks. As you say, you was on Div 2, you played out the split, you won the split, and then into this split. Why did you leave 70? Why did you leave WSL?
Because Alex was leaving.
Is that the reason? Because we knew Alex was going to leave about a week or two before. He'd spoken to Glenn and then he put his application in.
Oh, most people on 7DS knew. Oh my god, you made me... On WSL Red, knew Alex was leaving. We knew the team was splitting basically from the time Stone got banned. And I went, it's like, okay, I don't want to play on this team. Let's see what's around. Then, due to work, basically, for anyone who knows Dev, our release schedule got changed, so our release is now Friday morning, which means every 2 weeks I have to work late or till like basically most days 6:37, 7:30 on Thursdays, and also on a side like work's social day where before Corona and lockdown got moved to Thursdays is the day we go to the pub, and I don't like it's RL stuff. I don't want to play in a league, so I couldn't play Thursdays anymore. Okay, let's look what's available Monday. Loxar reaches out to me and goes, okay, you can't play Thursdays. Do you want to join WSL Green? I go to Loxar. No, I don't want to be coached by Fatal. It would not work out. I don't respect him. Okay, I'll look around. At the time, Div 3, still on Thursdays, so can't look for a Div 3 team. Who's available? Okay, CLA are looking. Yes. Let me find my DMs with that guy, and I think it's something along the lines of.
Well, just while you find it,
yeah.
what a lot of people don't really know is, as skirting the line goes in terms of team involvement, I feel like I skirted as close as possible in terms of the CLA tryouts. People in CLA would have known that I watched some of the games. Again, Valk's close friend. I gave my opinions on certain people who I thought was good, who wasn't good.
Oh, that's fair. Like, you're doing that as a friend, like, there shouldn't be an issue with that, right?
Like, it wasn't in terms of I want this team to do well. It was more, well, Valk needs as many eyes as he can for his tryouts. I want things to go well for him. I didn't really care how they did in the league. More so, I just wanted to have like a good roster for him because that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I remember watching. It was you're gonna have to help me here. Yourself. Can't remember the jungler. Was he jungle or top? Can't remember whichever one he wasn't. Your Shadow Hopper in mid. And I remember watching them play and being like, Yourself is all the comms, but a lot of the comms is him just chatting bear shit. Like,
it would have been Honest because Honest was the only other jungle tryout at the time.
The Honest that plays AD carry now. Oh wait, he played top. Was he not top and Yourself jungle then?
No. It was Yourself top, Honest jungle. It was basically me and Honest did all of the CLA tryouts jungle, and then Cliff played like 2 games.
Right. Okay. So, I was obviously very much involved in like every time something happened, Valk could come in to call and rant to me and Glenn, and he's like, "Oh, this has happened, and so I got more of an insight than a lot of people probably know. But go on, tell us how did that early happen?
So the whole thing is right. I'm looking for a team. I'm like, okay, so I can't remember what. I think it's probably the bench with Rock or what. There's some sort of content that goes out where famously Val goes. He's like going through the teams and he gets to WSL red and he goes, right, Ice is just there for points, whatever. He's trash, and I don't think he'd ever fit on CLTA. So I DM him the next. I'm like, why don't you think I'd fit on CL? I thought, and at the time, I generally thought we were under the impression that we'd left the WSL tryouts on quite good terms. We'd like mutually respected each other. I thought I was really surprised with how actually good he was in jungle. And I said that, and we gave each other pointers, and I think he'd say the same thing. And he was like, yeah, mainly it was for a meme, but he just didn't think that I'd be the kind of person who would appreciate being like coached by him to an extent. I was like, and I said, you know what? Maybe let's give it a try. Like most coaches, I'm happy to listen to them until I find a reason not to listen to them. Basically,
I think it's a recurring theme that you kind of have to respect the coach, right? Like that's your thing.
Yeah, for me, I'm not going to listen to someone I don't respect, and I'll give most people that benefit of the doubt, respect in the first place. But once they lose it, like I struggle to like give it respect back to people once they've lost it for me. So yeah, I try out and it's going well. I'm smacking about Honest. He only plays Sedge, coming on it, and yeah, I think I'm doing well. And he DMs me and is like, yeah, you probably know this. You're doing very well. We'd like you on the team. What would your like dream team be? And I think let me find the...
Well, this is the interesting thing. See, he asked that every person that they offered to start. Go on, read yours out.
Taui, me, wasn't too sure about mid because I hadn't seen too much of Shadow or Kuya at the time. Honest and Cliff. So he goes, okay, we want to do Taui, you, Shadow, Honest, and Laval. And I go, why Laval? I've seen nothing.
Yeah.
And Laval knows this, that I was very against it being her over Cliff. Because
it caused for a divide, right?
It did. Like, that was my first thing where I went, you know what? If they can pick Laval over Cliff, I don't think they can coach.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I mean, So
she's proved me wrong. She is really
she
like.
has, but I think ultimately people can see the justification that you played on the team with Cliff. Cliff brings a lot of good things to a team, and you'd not seen too much of Laval to ultimately say she can do what Cliff was doing for WSL, right?
So the best way I can put it is our first set of tryouts. My first DM on this set of tryouts to Val is, at the risk of getting ye out of tryouts, our points total is like 10 points lower than every other tryout, and it's like, I think it was Towie top, me jungle, some like silver 2 rando mid, copy fire ADC, Cliff support.
Yeah.
We smash every game. Like, it wasn't even close because me and Cliff have inbuilt synergy,
Yeah.
inbuilt like ability to short call, and like it didn't make sense to me why you would take away that inbuilt synergy.
It's fair. Obviously, I was on the other side, so every time anything happened, Valk was straight in DMs or calls like, for fuck's sake, this and this and this. And I don't know, like, I remember when, this was around the time that Towie had always started looking for a team or whatever. And
well, I was also, I immediately, as soon as they picked, I was like, okay, let me get in Albush's DMs. Yeah. Let me try on DBA because...
And interestingly, that's around the same time that Cliff then made his looking for players for a team.
Yeah.
And I remember that going up, being in call with Val, because you were saying, oh, Ice and Towie might be leaving. You'd said, like, maybe you're going to leave, find someone else. Towie was like, I don't think I can play in the team, blah, blah, blah. And that post went up, and I knew your opinion that you wanted to play with Cliff, and I was like, okay, that's going to be Towie top, you jungle, Cliff support, because I didn't know Cliff wasn't going to play. And that was pretty interesting to see how it was shaping.
Cliff was always on the impression he was going to play until like Connor smacked him at battle, right? But
and one of the things that I still remember is Val sending like I can't remember a screenshot of like the text where you'd lost a scrim or whatever, and you instantly after the game DM Val and just put, if Cliff plays, we win that. And I just remember being like, okay, you've lost Ice because obviously there's been this divide or whatever, and it was like blah blah. And I can't remember if it was a DM or you said it in a call or whatever, but
yeah. It was DM. It was the DM. Like, I wasn't like, I was a little like, oh my god, I was not happy about that decision, and I made it very well known. But like, I still went okay. Let's give it a try.
Exactly.
I stuck it out.
You stuck it,
and I was still looking at the time, and I had some issues where it's like, we got like I vividly remember there's a scrim where we got absolutely hard smacked by Centurion Academy, and after game 1, Val comes into the call and goes, right, it was a great game, you guys did so much better. I'm like, we just got smacked by a team that's worth 20 points less than us. How can you say we did well? And at that point I went, fuck it, I don't want to be coached by this guy. Yeah. Like, if that's his coaching strategy, which was the issue I had with Arbush, was like, Arbush knows on DBA, he knows macro well, like drafts well, generally very knowledgeable, but is too nice of a person to be a good coach.
And all
I could see was that same problem coming up.
That's fair. And so I remember when Jamie said he was going to make a team, Jim being Val, for those that don't know. And I remember being like, I don't think you're ruthless enough. This was in a meta that WSL was dominating, and that was because they were ruthless. Like, you played bad.
Oh, I mean, like, we bought in Cliff to fill for Shadow for 2 weeks. Cliff performs, and we don't give Shadow a second try.
That's it. Like he's brutal. And like, I was like, Jamie, you can't coach. Like, you know a lot about the game. You really do. I'm not saying you're an idiot. You know a lot about the game. I think your draft's probably not good, but you can probably work on that or work as a team maybe. But ultimately, I don't think you're going to be the person that at the end of the game goes, Ice, you've done dog shit. And I don't think you're going to sit there and say that.
That's what I like. That's what I want from.
Yeah, it's what you need, and I know that's what Alex would have done when you were WSL. And I was like, this isn't. Go on. If you want to do coaching, I really hope it goes well for you because you're my friend and I want to support you. But I don't think you'll be able to do that. And I remember when I was watching one of those games, in the lobby, and somebody was like, "Oh, Valt's gonna coach us to victory." And I was like, "Yeah, we'll see if it lasts more than 2 weeks." Because when he fucking, because the problem is, Valt takes it all to heart. When everything like happens, it's on his shoulders, right? If you lose in a scrim, he takes that away with him, and all the next day he's feeling it. And in terms of like him caring, I think there's not many people that care more, but I don't think he can be ruthless enough or being practiced doing enough to deal with what you needed. And which obviously led to Yuki coming in. So trying to keep
like
the
as much as I hate him going, you know what? Ice doesn't like the way I coach. Honest doesn't like the way I coach, because after that game, both me and Honest had like a 20-minute go at him, going like, "This is not what a coach needs to be." And I think at about the time, that was about the time he started working in a Tesco's or something. About the time, or some sort of supermarket or something. About the time the lockdown was starting, and he goes, "Okay, I don't really have time for this. Let me try and find a different coach." And he goes, "Guys, I have this Diamond 4 ADC main. Do you guys want to try him out for a scrim?" And I'm like, at that point, I'm not going to lie, I was 95% leaving.
Yeah.
Because that was a sinking ship for me. Taui was 50-50. Basically, was if I leave, he's leaving. If I'm not leaving, he might still leave. Brings in Yuki. Yeah. Brings in Yuki. He watches one game and goes, "Oh my god, I have so many problems with you guys." And go, "Yes, thank you. Someone who will tell me what's wrong." And he spends like 15 minutes between games or whatever going, here. Like, this was good, but all of these things were bad.
Yeah.
We can improve these things. Yuki is Alex 2.0. Like,
from what I've heard, I agree. And if you guys can keep him at 7DS, I think it'll be probably the biggest transfer of the summer, to quote football.
No, he's not. Like, no one's taken him.
Like, somebody said it on the cast, I think last week, where it's like, from what I've heard, Yuki's the main thing behind CLA. Maybe people are going to pick him up, or maybe a content piece or something. I think Div 1 teams might start sniffing soon, because from
we have a 7DS1 team, and he's coaching them as well. He's not leaving, thank you. Fuck off, anyone who comes near him.
So Yuki comes in, he starts to fix some issues. You play one more scrim with Yuki in. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. One more scrim with Yuki in.
And then
Taui leaves.
So we knew that Taui was looking to leave. We obviously we knew this. You knew this. Val knew this. You said we'll give it a go. Taui said we'll give it a go. He plays one scrim and then he dips. Explain your point of view. I'm gonna go off camera again, but I'm still listening.
My point of view is he didn't want to, like, if for me he was leaving much earlier than before that scrim.
Okay.
And he tells us one day before we're meant to do our first WOD review with Yuki and actually get something out of this. No, he doesn't even tell us one day, but he tells us 30 minutes before.
Right, okay.
And I think we've been over this already, so most people know this, but like...
Yeah, I think you said it on the bench, right? Where it was like, he just left you high and dry.
That's wrong. It, like, as much as he may say he wasn't sure he was leaving, if you're role swapping into a different team, you know more than 30 minutes before you're leaving.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you do on the second. And... yeah, like, the way he conducted himself, and it may come across as hypocritical, because obviously I was, at around that time, also looking to try and leave, but, like, it didn't felt like he gave the new team a try. He didn't give it time to sort itself out. And I honestly do still believe, even if we had Taui top, we would still be smashing the 4.
Interesting.
Because Yuki just bought so much. Like, we memed that the reason we're winning Div 4 is because we brought in Spunners and Taui left. Yeah. And while there was an immediate effect from bringing in Spunners, because Spunners bought a voice until me and Val got more confident talking to each other and actually shot calling.
Fucking hell. Change your names.
Yeah. too many vowels, but
here's a question before you
like
carry
he
on.
brought in that Spunners was that stability, but
A little question for you. So you said earlier on that you were in Arbush's DMs. Did Arbush ever offer you the jungle spot?
No, he didn't even try me out. He said, "Yes, I'll find you a scrim."
So
I hear
obviously
it
Towie
goes from
must have been
a week and a half before that. Yes, we'll give you. So the last I heard is Wilder's going to play on the academy team as their jungler.
Okay.
I don't agree with this. Wilder's nowhere near as good as me, and I don't think he is or ever will be.
Yeah.
And I still agree with that opinion. The next, and I go, I don't agree with this. Let me try out. Let me. I can be better than him. Let me try. And he goes, okay, if there's a scrim or if there's a space, I'll give you a shot. And I go, you know what? Yeah, fair enough. Like, Arbush I've played with him as a coach for a split, then him on the team for a split. He knows what I'm like. Next thing I hear, Towie leaves, joins DBA. Okay, he's going jungle.
So how did that put you out of place, or what?
That to me is I just got shafted by someone I thought I was pretty close friends with. Like, I've met Arbush in real life. Like, I went to a pub with him. Whatever. Like, I met up with him. He flew to London, and like, yeah, we're pretty close friends.
Speaking of which, when are we having a beer, Ice? Come on.
Huh?
It's been too long. When are we having a beer?
Well, when we're allowed to go for a beer.
Put it on record. Are you coming to Insomnia next time it's on?
Yeah.
That's a yeah. That's all I need.
Not the first one, probably. I don't feel safe doing that, but that's whatever.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So the question I was going to ask is, obviously Towie must have had an offer for DVA. Had Arbush offered you that spot instead of Towie, or at the same time, would you have taken it?
That's difficult to say because I hadn't played with anyone. Like, I hadn't tried out, so I hadn't played with anyone on the team. I don't know how I would have gelled with anyone on the team. My initial reaction is probably not, because it was Nikki mid. And I have a lot of issues with Nikki mid. Nikki, like, she's a lovely person. Very nice, but like I like when Arbush came to London, she came as well, and she's a nice person, she's friendly and whatever. I don't think she'll ever put in the effort that I want out of my teammates. So I would probably have said no on that basis, but at the same time, I had a massive opinion of Lucas, their top laner. So it's difficult to say, but on the basis, probably not. For me, it's more the sense that he goes, yes, I'll give you a tryout. He had nothing for a week and a half. Then I found out my current top laner, like my top laner, he prefers
an off-roll top laner.
An off-roll top, over someone who he's coached for a split, has played with for a split, who he knows is a good jungler. For me, that just goes, no, you're shit, Ice. Fuck off, you're terrible. That's the opinion I get.
So, Towie leaves, he joins DVA.
Yeah.
He left you high and dry. You said on record before that it made that VOD session pointless, in your opinion. The scrim pointless, because obviously that's 20% of the team gone. Why are you VOD reviewing something like that? So, did you exchange
Why are we VOD
DMs?
reviewing when we should have used that session to do a scrim with tryouts or some tryouts?
Yeah. So, did you exchange DMs? Did you speak to Towie?
Yes, I knew for like 2 days before he was thinking about it, and my message to him was, just let us know as soon as you can, please. If you're leaving, whatever, I don't agree with it. I think you're doing the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But just let us know, because we have a session on Friday that realistically we need to find a new top laner, and because this was like a week and a half before signups.
Okay, well, I think that's fair.
And I hear nothing from him until half an hour before, and he goes, guys, I'm leaving.
Yeah, okay.
And I think he's mentioned this. My immediate reaction in the chat is, fuck you, you fucking cunt. How can you do this? Like, how can you leave half an hour before you know we have a session?
Yeah.
When you told me 2 days before that you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
So
I probably think a fair reaction, right? Like, throwing back to CL, I think you'd have probably got very similar DMs when
no,
you
I
left
had
PC.
the exact same DMs
Yeah.
from like both you, from definitely, no, yeah, from Valk. I'm like, yes, that's hypocritical. I probably did the same thing, but like,
Yeah. I'm
yes,
not.
I
I'm not
did the
defending
same thing.
anyone. I'm
So
not
like,
defending
I can't
Tally.
really talk, but
But like, they're your feelings, right? So he leaves DVA, playing upper division. Do you think he was good enough to play in Div 3?
no, he knows, like, and he agrees.
Okay.
He probably wasn't.
So
I
you
think
bring
he
in.
was getting on some of his own hype around, like, he'd won the previous split.
Yeah. So
He was beating out these tryouts for CLA.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Speaking with Valk, he obviously was very much along the lines of Towie's our first choice from the tryouts. So I can see that, like, he's getting the ego boost from that. And all it takes is a couple of DMs of someone saying, I think you're really good, come play for us. Maybe that's what Arbush did. I don't know the DMs, I'm not trying to, like... From what I know, Arbush is a really nice person, so I don't think he'd purposely
Arbush is a
poach,
lovely
but...
person. Like, as much as I'm not a fan of him this split in terms of his decisions or whatever, I don't like the DV coaches. They seem kind of XD. Don't seem to read the rules. But yeah.
So, funny thing, so this is being recorded on the Monday. Somebody locked in Rammus mid. Rammus, and I was just instantly like, in before placeholder. You're like, I'm so sure. So, on that record,
this was
the Ma guy, you know he knows Silverback, right?
who?
The Ma 1996? Like,
No, I didn't know that.
he knows Silverback really well.
Oh, okay.
Like, really well. But more he's supposed to speak to Silverback about that. Okay, so... Towie's left, you bring in Spunners, you get that replacement. Ultimately, I think that's probably an upgrade. I played with Towie a little while. I know Towie can play well, but I know how good Spunners can be. I've seen him play, I've watched him play, and obviously on CLA he did really well until he got an unfateful accident in solo queue, I guess, and got slapped with a ban. So how did that hit you?
So at the time, it was we went looking. Holy shit! We have a week and a half to find a top laner, and our team at the moment is like we're all relatively old and work full time.
Yeah.
Except for like even Shadow, who's probably our youngest player, works in like a Tesco's warehouse somewhere, and is busy like. Basically, you've seen our DM, so like, can we reschedule this because he works a week off, week on in
crafting, right?
during the evenings. Yeah. So like we have no time to find out. So we line up Ikuya and Spunners. Ikuya is first. Day off. Ikuya messages us half an hour before, goes, guys, I've been in a car accident. I'm at the hospital. We're like, fuck. I DM Spunners, can you fill in half an hour? And he goes, yes. He joins. He is so vocal. And he is very, like, loud. Yes, and he probably, and he knows, and he agrees with this himself, his mechanics aren't the greatest.
Yeah.
But the way he talks and what he does for the team in sense of, like, I don't think I've ever seen any other top laner sacrifice his own lane at 4 minutes to TP bot lane to give his bot lane a double kill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no other top laner in BL realistically does that. And that's his own, like, reaction. That's not me, who many people think a shot caller, or Chime, who's doing that. That's him going, like, looking at the mini-map while he's walking, and he just goes, guys, I'm TPing bot lane as it's happening, and then he smacks it.
It's a little bit like, is it Fnatic that did that last split, where they'd like make TP plays in 4 and 5 minutes in, just try and get the advantages?
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is looking good. This is better than Towie. He's louder than Towie. So I return to the fateful old 7DS chat, and I go, Ryan, Kui, you guys have been on the team with this guy for a split. what do you guys think? Like, is there any issues? What do I need to know about him to go pick him up? He is above Div 4. His mentality. He is only thing holding him down is mechanic. Pick him up. Pick him up. Pick him up.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah. So we give him another scrim. He keeps looking good. I'm like, okay, we're starting to click as a team. The atmosphere is looking better. Me and Val are starting to gel because I don't feel like I have to do all the shot calling is not just on my shoulder. So I can focus more on my early game and getting me and Val start rolling together. And to all her credit, like, all of the issues I had with her at the start of the split, she listens to them, goes, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Here's my problems with you. And we talk it out, and I think, yes, like, we're getting along. We have good synergy now. Probably, I think I'd still have slightly better synergy with Cliff if it been him for the whole split, but Val's not very far behind. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
There's only two supports I'd realistically replace Val with. Is maybe Cliff is like 55-45 and Branch, because playing with Branch just makes.
Yeah, I understand.
I play with Branch in the random off-season tournament, and playing with him just makes it makes jungle a different role. It's disgusting. But yeah, she is fantastic, and she plays these off-meta picks. Like, the first time in a scrim, she goes, I want to play Trundle. I'm just like, wait, what? No. Yeah. And Yuki goes, yeah, fuck it, let's try it. And she absolutely smacks on it. And you watch our first games back on versus CNA, plays Trundles both games, absolutely smacks on it. And I remember Drigger afterwards, like, yeah, Chime won them that series.
Yeah. She's an interesting character. I feel like she's very much within her shell. A lot of people don't really speak to her, or at least she doesn't publicly do conversations very much. I feel like she's going to be one of those people that the longer she's here, the more people realise how good she is, how much of a nice person she is. Which I think
she's a fantastic person, except for the fact that she's fucking corrupted my way of speech in VL, and like I now use all of her fucking emotes.
Yeah. Fucking honestly, Discord kills it for you. Like, every time you start making friends with someone else, you just pick up all their mannerisms. It's awful.
Yeah.
So, okay, Towage leaves, Spawner joins, CLA go on to pretty much romp the league, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you dropped a... Did you drop a game?
Nope. So, by the way, I'm undefeated in 2020. Haven't lost a game.
Clean sweep. I'm also undefeated in 2020.
I'm currently... Let's see. So I was 13-0 through first split. I'm currently...
10-0?
Yeah, I'm 21... No, there's only 5 teams. So I'm 21-0 at the moment.
So playoffs is still going to be good. I wanted to really speak about the Inca stuff, but judging by conversations I had earlier on, probably not worth, but we'll see. I feel like they could potentially prove you or show you to be a tough matchup. Obviously, I know you played recently.
If we underestimate Inca, they'll smack us because they're such a snowbally team. And both me and
go on, sorry.
Bauer, both me and Bauer are very confidence-based junglers.
Yeah.
Currently, I probably have it slightly up on him because we've been winning a lot of... I filled in versus him once or twice, and we smacked him about last week. All it takes is him having a really good game one, and he gets his confidence back.
100%. And I think that was the same on WSL, right? Like, he's always been a good player, but he becomes an outstanding player when he has the arrogance, I guess. Like, he looks up to people like RL, who's very arrogant-based and makes arrogant plays, and if it pays off, he looks really good. And I feel like that's kind of where he gets it from. Whereas if he makes those flashy plays, he feels better, he becomes a better player. Ultimately, I think on average, he's, like a 7 out of 10, but when he gets going, he becomes like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. I think that's, I think that's fair.
Yeah. like, all respect to him, he took a 0 wins bottom tier team to second place. Like, he's good, but
he definitely has something about him, right? And
yeah,
I think it'd be a shame to see him in Div 4 next split. Regardless, I think teams will probably want to take a gamble. I think you put a team around him, I feel like you can have a really, really strong team. But before we get to the playoff talk,
I just need to go bathroom real quick, BLB.
No problem.
You have to entertain people on your own.
Oh god, this is going to be interesting. So, what can I leak? What tickets can I open up and say this is what's happening? If you want to be on future episodes of Joycey's Jibber-Jabber, cringe name I know, but we're going to rock with it because it's alliteration, then I will leave a form in the post and also probably in the description if I can remember to do it. I think it's a nice little filler for Let It Rip. Drigger's taken a little bit of a hiatus for his own reasons. So please sign up. We'll have drinks, we'll have chats, it'll be interesting. But ultimately, ignore the bad overlay. Sorry about that. Ultimately, I think it's just a way to chat and get to know people. As I said earlier on, me and Ice have always been on a little bit of a frosty stand until pretty much recently. And I don't know, I'm open to speak to anyone. The more controversial, the better, because I feel like people want to watch it. And content gets the views, gets people talking. We only do this so Ruben keeps donating, because he likes watching podcasts while he cleans the house and stuff, he said. So we're doing it for Ruben. And I would like to just take this time to talk about some of our sponsors. We'll talk about Marco-chan, or San, whichever he prefers these days. And we'll say, thank you very much, Marco, for doing all the graphics. Hopefully you make me a better one for this podcast. Ice, welcome back. I just filled for my life right there. I filled harder than a fucking E-sub like 5 minutes for a scrim, you know? Like,
yeah.
But, as I was alluding to, let's rewind it a little bit before the Inca turn stuff, before you even played them, I believe. And many people would have noticed, but you played them under a different name. Now, what people may not know is that came with quite a lot of drama. So, I am going to bring up the Valk stuff, which we'll get to in a minute. From what I saw, CLT announced they were disbanding, and there's two sides to this story, so I'll start with your side. Your side was that you don't have a main team, why would you become an academy team to a main team that doesn't exist? Which is a fair point. So you wanted to leave, and you wanted to rebrand. Now, I remember you opening the ticket, and I sort of misread it. I thought you was talking about, like, between splits, like changing the rebrand, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Change names, keep all your loyalties and stuff. You're still the same team, that's fine. And then, like, I read it again the day after, I was like, wait, do you mean now? So I DM'd you, I was like, just to clarify, blah, blah. You'd, like, had, like, a tough day at work, or whatever, you told me this later on. We had a bit of back and forth.
Tough day at work, we're getting smacked about in scrims. So, yeah.
And I'm just DMing you, like, by the way,
I'm taking this out on you.
So I just took the brunt of it, and I was like, I went to call with Alex afterwards, and I was like, Alex, I feel like we need to go into a call with Ice, and I feel like you need to speak to him, because if he speaks to me, I feel like he's going to literally say some things that I'm going to have to ban him for, and I don't want to do that. Alex was like, Alex was like, yeah, bring him in. I'll talk to him. He'll feel like it's not coming from you, we'll be alright. So we'd obviously talk to the staff team about potential what had happened. So, for those that don't know, CLA rebranded to 7DS. And the issue was, if CLA go on to win, is it in like the records as a CLA win or a 7DS win? So we spoke to Shenzhen, who won the spot. We said, you're disbanding. If you disband, obviously there's no main team. CLA want to rebrand to give the spot up, and he was happy to, as long as it says CLA and in 7DS in brackets Formula CLA. And so we said that to you. You was happy with it. There were some members of CLT not so happy with that, let's say. Because from their point of view, so I've said yours, their point of view, they put in all the tryout time in, they tried to work with the team, and then they brought a coach in, and they feel like that's their little project that they worked on, they got to a point, and then they're going to let you have the success, but under their name. Now, I'm going to probably touch on your toes what you're going to say here. I know what you're going to say, that like during the split they didn't do too much. They just left you to your own devices and just said well done at the end. But talk us through it from your point of view. What did you think? How did you think? So, we'll go on to the Valk stuff after.
Obviously, yeah, you've covered most of it. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's both sides, it boils down to an ego thing. At the end of the day, their ego is they put in the time. They want some recognition for it, or they think they put in enough time for it to be recognition. I don't agree with it, but whatever. My ego is, why should I be an academy team for a team that can't even finish out the split? So as soon as there's started to be some rumblings about it in the Clay T Discord and within BL, I'm like, okay, we'll look to rebrand end of split because they're probably splitting up. Then they hear, okay, they're not going to finish out the split. And my immediate reaction is, okay, let's rebrand now because why should we play? And I immediately go into Shensen's DMs and I'm like, are you guys going to finish out the split? Because if not, I would like the opportunity to rebrand because I don't think it's fair for us to finish out the... So my exact words were, hey Shensen, just want to ask what are the chances you guys will be finishing out the split, just because if you're not sticking around, I think the academy team will look to rebrand now rather than the end of the split. Shensen's reply is, we're not going to play our last game. Okay, Shensen's the owner. He said they're not going to look to play their last game. I'll double check with admins, will this be allowed? Obviously there's a bit of miscommunication there. I understand it as, yes, you can rebrand now. Yeah. On the basis that Shensen says it's okay. I have it in DM, so I'm like, yeah, okay, that won't be an issue. I approach Hashi, I'm like, I'm thinking about him and go, okay, realistically, what team would I want to rebrand under? I'm like, who has good teams left? I'm like, OPN. Yeah, okay, I can see OPN. PDX, but then Charmander Nerd leaves, and I'm not too big of a fan of the rest of the people on that team. Don't really know them. I'm like, okay, nah. Can't really find a team. I would have loved to have been Plague Academy, but obviously they bought their own team because at the end of the day, right, we are essentially what should have been Plague Academy because we have Spunners who was the sub on Plague. Chime, yeah, would have made sense. Can't do that. Okay, can we look to make our own team? I don't want to put in. I'm lazy. I don't want to put in that time. Like, okay, what about 7DS? Like, both me and Kraft played on that team. It's a well-known team within the community. Means a lot to both me and Kraft. And I want to, like, I think that's a good, like, as much as I hated playing with Hashi on DVA, I respect him as a person. I see us as good friends, and whatever happens within games, like, that's within game. It's over, whatever. So I approach Hashi, I'm like, yo, what do you think about this? We want to rebrand now. Are you okay with this? And Hashi says, yes, on the basis I can come in and be a manager, kind of organize something. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll bring that forward to the rest of the team. They're like, yeah, we like the name. Obviously, it means more to you and Kraft, but the name overall to people who haven't been around is good. And I'll bring that into tickets. And from my point of view, it's like, okay, that's good. And then, obviously, that day happens where you're like, no, you can't. And I did not behave well to you that day.
To be fair to you, I didn't approach it like I should have. I used it more as like we're friends. I'm just gonna be like, yo, this can't happen, blah blah. And I feel like I'd not put it across like that was just me giving my opinion rather than a ruling. And I feel like that's my fault. I will hold my hands up. So carry on anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. So I come into the call and you guys are like, okay, we talked to Shenzhen on the basis that you guys, you do win, says 7DS, formerly known as Clay T Academy, that's okay with Shenzhen. I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. They get some recognition because, while I don't agree they probably put in anywhere near the amount of time I think they should have put in as a main team. Yeah, they did put in time to find the team and found Yuki. Okay, no issues there. I announce it in the Claytrons Academy chat. 2 minutes later, I get a DM from someone. Nah, fuck it. I get a DM from Kraft, who at that point has access to the main team chat. It's an @ from Valk to the whole team going, hey guys, if we play our last scrim, PlayT can't rename. No, if we play our last week games, PlayT can't rename. And at that point, I blow up and I immediately forward it to you. I'm like, how, like, I don't understand how I could have done this any more professionally.
Yeah.
We start catching flack from Key and Valk. They talk about it in main chat, in Twitch chat, in the Trash Talk server. They like rename all of us. They rename our chats in Claytrons to like Snake Chat, Snake. That's all I hear. I'm like, I don't understand what more I could have done. It's not like this was out of the blue. I approached this from my view as fair as I probably could have done it.
Yeah.
I
don't know. From what I heard, it boils down to miscommunication. So I feel like you approached Shenzhen and you asked. Shenzhen was like, yeah, whatever he did. And I feel like the communication between Shenzhen and the team wasn't that. It was, oh, by the way, CLA are leaving us. That was it. Because I remember I was in call with Valk as he put that message. Because I was like, well, what CLA said was if you play the last game out, if you were going to stay, they'd happily stay, which is what you said, right?
That's always been, if they were going to play their last, I would never do that. That's...
What was interesting is, literally like a couple hours before that, I was speaking of like, CLT boom then, he was like, no, I think we're going to try and reschedule our game and let Key play, because we don't want our last game to be that shit show that was on stream, however it was. And I was like, okay, cool. By the way, this is happening. And then he was like, oh. And I knew Shenzhen was trying out for NSK, I knew Key was trying out for NSK. And then he put that in, and he told me, and he's like, oh, by the way, I've done this. I was like, that's so petty. Like, I'm not going to let that fly. As much as it might be, like, by the law of the letter or whatever, letter of the law, like, that's just, you're just doing that for petty's sake. I said, genuinely, if you want to talk it out with ICE and sort it out and come to an agreement where you're going to play and they allow it, sure. But I'm not just going to let you, like, be a tyrannical ruler and just be like, we're going to play our last game and play fucking Yumi top.
Yeah. I would have been happy, but I think I even DM'd you on the day when I saw you in a call. I was like, do you need me to come in, talk about it, whatever?
And I was like, nah. Like, honestly, if he's doing it for petty's sake, I'm not having that. And so I said, look. And the next day I spoke to him, I was like, are you going to play that game? And are you going to play it for the right reasons? And he was like, look, we've talked it out. We want to play it. We don't care what CLA do. That's their choice. We want to play it for our own reasons. And if you remember, I DM'd you, and I was like, so they're going to play it because they want to play it. Go and ask the team what you want to do. I'll ultimately leave it to your decision. And then I believe they just deleted all your channels. And they made the decision for you.
Like, I put in the message, and then I go, okay, where are our channels?
And I was
because at that time we'd already made the 7DS channels, and I put it in the 7DS channels, like, do we want to stay because they're going to play their last game? And then 10 minutes later, Honors goes, well, they've just deleted all of our channels.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't know how that vote would have gone. Ultimately, I don't know if you would have. But our point was, they said they weren't. I knew Shenzhen wanted to leave. For those that are wondering why they didn't play, because it was due to have been played yesterday, I believe. Shenzhen felt like he wanted more time playing AD carry or whatever, so he wanted to leave. Without trying to spoil too many friendships, fuck it, let's do it. A few members of CLT called Shenzhen a snake for a couple of days. I don't know how they feel now, but they said that Shenzhen snaked them out of their last games. So, you know, each to their own. But you rebranded, right? And I don't know. You and Valk have some back and forth.
I want to bring it forward that as much as people like say, oh, Hashi snaked this team, just took over this team. Yeah. He had nothing to do with it. This was fully... I was the one who forwarded it to him. Like, you know the tickets. I was like, okay, like...
Yeah. You hinted it, and I was like, pog. So I was like, oh, next split, 70S, yeah. And, like, we all fucking did the listen, yes, no, stuff. Like, Hashi memes. But yeah, like, you brought it up. I fully believe that Harsh didn't approach her. And
No.
I think
I'll gladly show DMs, whereas like my first message to Harsh in like 2 months is me going, "Yo, I want to do this. How do you feel about it?"
And I feel like had Harsh approached you and gone, "Oh, you're gonna win. Let's do it under our name." I feel like
I wouldn't have done that.
We'd have probably
I don't even think I would have done that as a like that feels wrong. Yeah.
And we'd have gone, come on, Ice. Like you've like whatever he said to you, just finish the split. It's not fair. But ultimately, you are Joe Reasons, right?
Yeah.
So, but it definitely opened back up the little bit of a rivalry. Like I don't know if you spoke since, but there was a little bit of a back and forth on the Twitch chat stuff, calling you a points marker, or whatever he said. I can't remember the exact terms. And you calling them CL3 or whatever it was. There's some people saying that. I can't remember if it was you. And like you said, you were trying to bait him or whatever. Yeah. So, did it open up old wounds? Did the rivalry start again?
I don't think, like... I think at the end of the day, both, like, to his credit, Mark's grown up a lot. I think I've grown, like... Yes, I'm older than him, but I'm still real shit at the end of the day. But, like, I said, right, I fully tried to bait him because I wanted to. I found it funny. But I think I personally have gotten to the point where I'm like, none of these people are important enough for me to realistically care at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And as bad as that sounds, it's not meant to be a bad thing. It's more of a there's a saying where it's like, hate is such a strong emotion for someone you don't like or don't care about.
Well, so the way I've always looked at hate, and I don't know, I can't remember where I heard this, and somebody can tell me and send it me in DMs, I'd love it. Because I've said this for years and years. But hating someone's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. Like, all you do is you have the resentment inside you, and it only hurts you. The other person doesn't feel your hate, you feel it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suppose, like, I've never really hated anyone in VL, like, because it's so much of an effort to hate someone, to go out your way and say, I hate this person, I blah, blah, blah. I might not speak to people, I might not, like, care for them, but I don't hate them, because it's such a, like you say, a strong emotion. So you think you definitely, like, the hatchet's definitely buried, you're over it?
Yeah, like, we have very different opinions on things.
Keep talking.
We're probably
I don't know how never... this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, we're never going to probably fit on a team or get along very well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feel like the hatchet is buried. We have some different opinions, but most people do. It's kind of whatever. I could have gone about the whole 70S Clay T CLA thing a lot worse than I did. I feel like I tried to do that as upstanding as I possibly could. Wasn't happy with how Valk reacted, but I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah, like, I don't know. From both sides, I feel like you've both got a reason to be angry. And I just don't think... I'm not saying, like, you both didn't fully understand the other point, but I feel like that got in the way, you know? That didn't really
I can see why he's upset about it. Like, that, I can see that point. Like I get that, but, like...
Well, like,
yeah, whatever.
For quite a while, I tried to explain why your team would probably feel abandoned, in the sense that their main team, their source of support, their higher level players, just kind of ditched them, and like
So as a side note to that, basically since they bought in Yuki and Agrita a week later, we don't really have any interaction with them. Mm-hmm. The closest we get is Shenzhen, who's the owner, coming in at the end of our games every week going, good job, guys. You guys played well, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone else is, okay, Key fills a couple of games here and there. But for me, someone filling is... He probably would have filled even if we weren't on CLA.
You could find
because Key's always game to fill. Key fills for every fucking team. I do the same when I have time. Because we like playing fives. It's whatever. So,
that's fair.
For me, to an extent, yes, we had the name, but I didn't feel like there was any real incentive from the main team. There wasn't like... whatever, and like.
Yeah, like.
I guess like it comes down to I'll look at who's on the team. Beak probably like I played a couple of games with him. Seems like a really nice person. Same with Lottery, but they weren't putting any time into the academy team. Valk, whether through IRL, whatever, just wasn't putting in any time since we brought in our coaches. Key, yes, fills for some scrims, but doesn't really do anything outside of that. Shenzhen does what, like, at the end of the day, I'd expect an owner to do, and it's like, comes in, congratulates us, encourages us, is happy for us. But then Shenzhen's leaving. I'm like, okay, so the main contact we have with the main team is leaving. And as far as I know, they're disbanding. Why would I want to be an academy team for a team that doesn't exist and hasn't really supported us for quite a while? So I go and double check with Shenzhen. I'm like, okay, are you guys splitting up? Because if you are, we'd like to rebrand.
And yeah, like ultimately I can see both points. I feel like both points are fair. I feel like there'll be some rivalry down the line. I feel like you'll come up against a team who has like Shenzhen or Key or whoever, and it'll be a thing, right?
I mean, we've already memed like we were going to scrim against NSK and they were going to use Shenzhen, and I think within 10 minutes of me, 5 minutes of us finding out, I immediately go into the Claytron's Discord. I'm like, by the way, Shenzhen, we're still going to ban at least just in case, we know you're going to play it. Like, it's like back and forth, like it's a fun rivalry, right? And I'm happy enough with that.
Hopefully it's all behind you, like friendly, meme rivalry is fine, but hopefully it's nothing too serious.
Yeah. No, just as a final point on that, like when Valk got announced as mod, someone immediately goes, lol, Valk mod in the Trash Talk server, and he gets a bit of flack for it, whatever, and I don't know, either I saw it or someone adds me and I go, what's ISIS' opinion on this? Because obviously it's quite known, I have some issues with them, and I go, you know what, personally, I think he's still too biased, but he's probably going to put in really good effort behind the scene, and why judge him now rather than be better to be happy, like let him have a chance at first, right? And then say what your opinion's going to be now, but don't flame him about it.
That's fair. I've also got down on my little notes. You want to talk about rules? I feel like we have covered a lot. Do you want to go into it, or should we draw a line?
I mean, we can talk a little bit about like Rock and Agrita. I feel like recently.
Well, it's a nice little segment because you talk about Valk having a second chance, or like another chance. I guess I don't know what number he's on these days, 8 or 9. But having a chance at being mod, and I feel like it leads nicely into the whole changing. So we changed the whole permanent ban to be an indefinite to allow appeals to have more chance. Like people prove that they've changed, and a lot of people would have probably looked at you and gone, "That's a person over there that probably wants permanent bans to stay." Like you're very much an iron fist kind of guy from what people's perspective is. So what's your thoughts on the change?
At the end of the day,
like
if it has to come down to it, I probably don't like it. I'd prefer everyone is, once you smurf, you harbor the smurf, whatever, you're gone. Fuck off. Don't want you in the community, whatever you bring. But okay, probably. I also recognize most people think I'm way too harsh on that. And the current admin team has made the decision. They don't want to. They want to go with some. Give people a chance. I look at the people they're given a chance. Okay, Rock, yeah. He admin for a while. He definitely seems to have changed his opinion. He's putting in time. Like, from what I can tell, he put in mad work on NSK. Basically turned that team around on his own, as far as I can tell. Like, honestly, watching him...
I was about to say, can I leak some stuff? But it's public knowledge now, right? That 7DS main team.
Yeah, like, he's the main part alongside Hashi, who's gonna do managing. he's gonna make our Div 1 team for next split. And yeah, there's some personal bias there because as much as all the time I've said Rock should be banned, whatever, I've always liked him as a person. He's a great person. He's a funny person. And up until the start of this split, Agatha, Smurf twice, get that cunt out of here, whatever. And the first person Valk approaches, Valk approaches when Agatha comes forward and wants to help Yuki is me. And he goes, what do you feel about this? I know you have problems with him. And I go, personally, I don't want him anywhere near a team I'm ever going to be on because I think he dirties any brand he's on. But if the rest of the team are happy with him, sure. And at that time, he coached Honest on Dark Copy last split. He'd had some interactions with Shadow on... I think he'd had some interactions with Shadow as well in the past. So we go, okay, we'll bring him in. And to all his credit, like, he puts in good amount of time. He understands, like, I had some issues with the drafts. And he goes, no, I don't agree with you as there are any issues. And he's very open. And I think he's grown up since he's Murphed. And yes, if it came down to it, I probably wouldn't have unbanned any of them. But if that's the situation you're going with, I feel like he's done enough at this point to prove himself that he should be allowed to be unbanned. Like, I don't... For me, if Rock can be unbanned at this point, I don't see why Agatha can't.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Hopefully... So, when Agatha approaches... I've talked to this on the podcast with Trigger not long ago, so I don't want to go too much into it. But he obviously approached us. He said, look, I haven't talked about it for a while, but I have been coaching here and there and whatnot, and I want to be in VL. I'll do what it takes, buddy bar. And we said we'll talk about it. And at the time, that's when the wiki came up. He then was like, I'll do the wiki, I'll start helping out, I'll show, like, I'll put a ton of work in. And I talked to you at the time about it without really giving much away, and I was like, what about if people did a lot of work? And again, I wrote to your opinion, and you was like, yeah, as long as they prove that they did a lot of work. And he definitely, I don't know, if anyone that can seriously say that he doesn't care about VR these days, I don't know what else he can.
Like, I'm probably his worst detractor. Like, he cares about the community at this point. I
believe me and you are probably a better flyaway. Probably his biggest enemies, I guess, is what people would probably have said. And I don't know, him doing that podcast with Trigger, I feel like he came across so well. So if you wanted to do podcasts, get in touch. I don't know. I don't know what else he can do. He's gonna keep going at it. But I don't know. I feel like that change allows people like Chris or Agatha to potentially come back into the community, and that's how you're gonna grow. And allowing people to reform in the non-Tile 1 way, where they actually do change and become better people, isn't a bad thing, you know? If John Wick wants to come and do a podcast and show us why he's changed and come into the community and coach, who knows? We'll see where we go.
Yeah, so my main comparison, I look at him compared to someone like Dewey, who got banned, disappears for 7 months, comes back and goes, okay, it's been 7 months, unban me.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing on Trigger's podcast. I touched on it a little bit, where I can't see... If your main argument is that you're changed, and you're not going to be toxic, and you're not going to be this and that, and you're not going to break rules, but you just disappear for so long and then come back, I don't understand how we could judge that based on that. And so Dewey joined Paradox to coach for a little while, and then just left. And then he's gone again. And
Did you say that? He's put "oh whoa" in the main chat.
Oh, maybe he's sticking around. Who knows? But ultimately, he's gonna come back in a couple of months' time and be like, "Can I be unbanned then?" And with you sent 10 messages in 4 months, my guy. Like, we don't know if there's any difference. You're still the same person as far as anyone's concerned. And then you look at someone like Agratar, who is doing everything they can. So who knows? You know. I'm not saying we're gonna make that verdict on Dewey right now. I'm just saying, if the part of the commitment is that you're going to show that you're a different person, I feel like you have to show that. And some have, and some haven't. So, Don't know. What other rules do you want to criticize while we're here? Take a shot. 3 hits. As one of the only people that's ever read the rule set.
Well, yeah, to an extent, right? Like, there's still been a couple of things where it's like, I don't know. I think there was that one I bought up in tickets the other day where there's probably some abusable, but you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So hopefully that gets changed.
Yeah. Don't know. I feel like I hate it because I hate blowing my own trumpet, but sometimes I feel like it's necessary to put a point across. I was talking to John Joe and Drigger a while back, and I said the reason why I feel like VL's grown so much in the last 6 months is not because of me personally, but because I'm willing to listen and give credit to other people. My thoughts were with Impress was if somebody gave a suggestion, he'd take it, put a little spin on it, and make it his suggestion, which I feel like stops people putting things forward. Whereas, I don't know, 90% of what you see of VL these days is not me. It's just other people putting it in. I tweak it very slightly, but it's their idea. Like, what probably is going to be 2021 will not be my idea. Like, there's
Are you
things
gonna, like, go with fucking Drigger's suggestion?
Exactly, yeah. Work with Driggers, we started, like, talking through it, changing a few things, but tweaking it so it'd work a little bit better. But ultimately, I'm just going to sit there and go, Drigger came with this idea, it's a fantastic idea, this is what we're going to use. And that's not me taking credit. People in 6 months after that will go, Joycey did a really good job with this, and I'm just like, my guy, it's not me. Like, the casting, John Joe, the production, not me. The transitions, Lev. The cards, Lev and Kui. Like, it's not me. I don't know. I sit at the front of the ship, or the back of the ship, sorry, and just go, row, row, and everyone else does it. But, I don't know, that kind of feeds into the rule set where you come and say, this is really bad, fix it, and I go, great idea, let's fix it. Because I feel like if you're not open to that change, or that someone, I don't know, having a go at what currently is, you never progress. You stale. You become stale, and you stagnate because you're surrounded by yes men who go, great ideas, and nobody gets anywhere. Whereas if you have a lot of controversial figures in there who go, this is bad, let's fix this. 9 out of 10 they're awful, but the 1 out of 10 is worth listening to. And that's where the Hall of Fame came from people like Bauer saying this is really bad. It's where a lot of things have come from. These are not unique suggestions that I've come up with at the top of my head. I have a lot of suggestions, I have a lot of things that I come up with at the top of my head. You just never hear them. One day, and maybe I'll talk in depth about my VL built ELO system that I was coming up with, but a lot of the ideas that you have in VL...
I think I've heard the basis of that, and it's like, that's such an...
Yeah, I think I told you, yeah. But, you know, ultimately, everything that I try and suggest is what I think's for the better of it, but 95% of them you don't hear or see.
No.
So we'll see. But I want to call
about Bauer.
Oh, go on. Spicy.
Him display is just he's such a fucking hypocrite.
Ooh.
Holy shit! Like every time I've smacked him about in a scrim, smacked him about in a game, official game, whatever, he's gone, why is Ice allowed to play in Div 4? Where? I'm like, okay, yes, I won Div 2. Unarguably, most people would say I was the weakest member on that team. Okay, you look at who else is in Div 4 at the moment. Drigger got to finals of Div 4, or Div 1. Like, it wasn't even close, him getting to that final. Yes, he lost the final. Why is that any different to him to me? His team would have won Div 2 handily. Then you look at Bauer himself. Won previous split Div 4 easily. Won the split before that, silver gold, easily. He keeps sticking in Div 4. Why is he allowed to be different? Okay? Am I higher ranked? No, I'm lower ranked than both him and Drigger. It makes no sense. It's just him being a little, like, him being a sore loser.
Just let you know.
That's all I can...
And people who watch this are going to see it. I'm going to clip that and put it at the beginning of the video. Because fuck me, I've waited all video for this. that'll be interesting because Joey's going to play each other in the final. I appreciate the little soundbite. I'm going to round it off.
If he wins, fair play to him. He plays well. I honestly believe if Bauer plays well, Inca can beat us. So I don't understand what his issue is. It just feels like his issue is he's not winning the split easily anymore.
Do you feel like he needs an excuse?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
You didn't see me complaining when I lost to him in the final 2 splits ago.
There's a bit of tension there, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'm gonna round it off there. We've had a long chat. It's been exceptionally interesting for the first iteration. I was gonna say, do you want to call anyone out? I feel like you've done it. So that's interesting. Yeah. That'd be good for the final that's gonna happen very shortly in a couple of weeks. I've been Joycey. He's been Ice. Ice, thank you very much for joining me on this. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully you all get this far. I'll see you on the other side.